All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to applicable law and my determination that attendance by remote means is necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent due to the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19, this meeting is conducted by video conference. Let the record reflect that this is a public hearing that is being held pursuant to the requirements of Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, or the code. Notice of this public hearing was published on July 12, 2021 on the website of the Office of the City Clerk of the City of Chicago. Let the reporter mark the screenshot of such notice as Committee's Exhibit Number 1 for identification, and we will include a copy of the notice in the record. Give me 1 second. All right, this hearing is regarding the city's plan of finance to issue Chicago O'Hare International Airport General Airport revenue bonds, passenger facility charge revenue bonds, and credit loan notes and commercial paper notes. And before we move on to that part of the meeting, we're going to start with a roll call. And as usual, we'll start out with Alderman Hopkins.
Good morning, Alderman Hopkins present.
Thank you. Alderman Dow.
Alderman Dow here.
Alderwoman King.
Present, Chairman.
Alderman Sawyer. Alderman Mitchell. Alderwoman Harris. Alderman Beal. Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza.
Present, Chairman.
Alderman Thompson. Alderman Cardenas. Alderman Quinn.
Here.
Alderman Burke.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Good morning, present.
Gotcha. Alderman Moore.
Alderman Moore is present, Chairman.
Alderman Curtis.
Present.
Gotcha. Alderman O'Shea.
Here.
Alderman Brookins. Alderwoman Tabares.
Present.
Alderman Scott. Alderman Burnett.
Present.
Alderman Irvin.
Alderman Irvin is present, trying to figure out who has the better hat, Emma or Ed.
I'll take mine off, and then I'll vote for Emma.
There you go. Alderman Taliaferro. Alderman Raboyris.
Present.
Alderwoman Austin. See you. I see you present there. Alderman Villegas. Alderwoman Mitz.
Present.
Alderman Sposato.
Nick Sposato's here.
Alderman Napolitano. Alderman Riley. Alderwoman Smith.
Present.
Alderman Tunney. Alderman Osterman.
Present.
Alderwoman Silverstein.
Alderman Harris is present.
Okay, Alderman Beal.
Beal is present.
I'm just bouncing around here.
Brookins is here.
Gotcha. Alderman Sawyer. Mitchell. Alderman, hold on, I'm just going back through real quick, make sure I get you guys before we kick off.
Scholarships. Is that Jake Case?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
Alderman Tunney's in.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Tunney's in. So.
Yep. Alderman,
Vice Chair Hairston is present.
yes.
Thompson.
I do both of us last, Alderman. Thompson,
Thompson's here.
The birthday girl is present.
you want to sing happy birthday?
I can't sing, but I wish her happy birthday again.
You did. I talked to you on my birthday. Thank you so
I know,
much.
thank you again.
And to everybody else,
Happy birthday again, I'm sorry.
thank you.
Alderman Kappelman, I see you. And everybody
Alderman
wishes
Tunney.
Alderwoman Hairston a wonderful delayed birthday. Belated. Give me 1 second. I'm just going. I know a couple people are popping on.
Just to clarify for those who joined us late, this is the first of 2 separate meetings. Is that correct?
That's
Chairman?
correct. We're doing the TEFRA hearing first. But I just want to make sure everybody's available here. Alderman Osterman is available. Yep. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a quorum for the TEFRA hearing. This is a quick readout, and there was one change to some information that we put out there, but let me go back through it just for purposes of the record. This hearing is regarding the city's plan of finance to issue its Chicago O'Hare International Airport General Airport Revenue Bonds, Passenger Facility Charge Revenue Bonds, Credit Agreement Loan Notes, and Commercial Paper Notes. The airport revenue bonds and the PFC revenue bonds will be issued in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $800 million. The airport revenue bonds will be issued pursuant to a bond ordinance adopted by this City Council on March 28, 2018, and the Master Indenture of Trust securing of Chicago O'Hare International Airport General Airport Revenue Senior Lien Obligations dated as of June 1st, 2018. The PFC revenue bonds will be issued pursuant to the Master Indenture of Trust securing Chicago O'Hare International Airport Passenger Facility Charge Obligations dated as of January 1st, 2008. The aggregate principal amount of loan notes and CP notes outstanding at any time will not exceed $600 million. The loan notes are to be issued pursuant to a program established by an ordinance adopted by the City Council on March 14, 2012. The CP notes are to be issued pursuant to a program established by an ordinance adopted by the City Council on November 18, 2009. Under the proposed plan of finance, a portion of the CP notes and the loan notes are to be issued to provide the initial financing for airport purposes in anticipation of the issuance of the airport revenue bonds or of the issuance of the PFC revenue bonds. The airport revenue bonds, the loan notes, and the CP notes are payable from revenues of Chicago O'Hare International Airport. The PFC revenue bonds are payable from passenger facility charges imposed and collected with respect to the airport. Written comments relating to the reissuance of the note must have been submitted by email to the Director of Legislation and Policy at owenbrew@cityofchicago.org not later than 3 p.m. Friday, July 16, 2021. Let the record reflect that no written comments were submitted. Ladies and gentlemen, if any resident, taxpayer, or other interested person attending this hearing desires an opportunity to express their views for or against the proposed issuance of the notes, please notify the host of the toll-free call-in number so you may have an opportunity to make those comments or statements. Is there any member of the public, taxpayer, or interested person who wishes to make a statement with respect to this matter? Let the record reflect there's been no response to the question posed by the chair. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this hearing regarding the city's plan of finance to issue its Chicago O'Hare International Airport General Airport Revenue Bonds, Passenger Facility Charge Revenue Bonds, Credit Agreement Loan Notes, and Commercial Paper Notes. Let the record reflect that the public hearing in this matter was concluded at 10:11 a.m., July 19th, 2021. This concludes the TEFRA hearing.
Do you need to move adjournment here?
Yes, I'm gonna.
Chairman, do you have to do the roll call,
I
please?
want to. 1 second. Before I go to adjournment, there's some people that were popping on. I want to make sure I get them on the record first for quorum. Alderman Mitchell,
Present.
Alderman Sawyer. Thompson, Alderman Thompson, I had you, just in case you check in there. Alderman Scott. Alderman Taliaferro.
Present.
Okay. Alderwoman Silverstein.
Present.
Thank you. Alderman Tunney, I have you. Alderman Riley.
Yeah, Alderman Riley is present.
Thank you. Alderman Napolitano. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I just had a quick question before you adjourn.
Yeah.
A lot of the reading that you gave was kind of about stuff we did previously.
Yeah.
Generally, this is pretty much a bond inducement, but there will be this matter will come back before the committee for final vote.
You know, if you like, I can have, I think I have Jack Brofman on the line. I know I gave several different dates about work that we already did. And if you like, I can have him do a quick recap. Jack, are you on the line?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Alderman Irvin, would you, what specifically, you just want to recap?
My question is, I know you read off a bunch of dates in the past about work that either had been done or other approvals that we've made. I guess the question is, will this come back before us for something else, or is this, I've never heard it given in the way it was given today, per se.
Jack, would you like to address that?
Sure, I'm happy to. Jack Brofman, Deputy Controller in the Department of Finance. So as Chairman Wagstack mentioned, these were referring to authorizations that were already provided by the City Council. The reason we have to be in front of you today is that there is essentially a 3-year window where after you hold a TEFRA hearing where you are allowed to issue the bonds on a tax-exempt basis. And if that 3-year window expires, then you have to hold another hearing for federal tax purposes. So the authorization was already provided, it already exists. And just in order to ensure that we are able to issue the bonds on a tax-exempt basis, and obviously therefore as cheaply as possible, we have to hold the hearing.
So these funds essentially have not been spent, even though there was authorization given 3 years ago?
Correct, but the bonds were not issued. So there was no obligation incurred or anything. There's just authority to issue the bonds. And in order to do so, we would need to have the hearing. Okay, and we generally, when you do the bonds, the bond teams and other folks are presented to council to, let us know what's happening and what's going on. I guess the question would be from that is, have there been any changes from what was presented to us 2, 3, 4, I heard something back in 07, years ago, as it relates to the teams, what the money was being spent on, and the general makeup of those parties and groups? As it stands, so the teams that you are referring to were approved in 2018, and as it stands, there aren't any changes in the plan of finance or composition. Do you think it may be prudent to bring those folks back? I mean, 2018, some people weren't here. We've got a different administration. Just curious as to why it wasn't done in that fashion versus just holding the TEFRA hearing, given that so much time has passed from the initial hearing and the initial approval to today, some 3+ years later. So the city has continued to. Oh, sorry,
go ahead, Jeff.
Please. I was just going to say the city has continued to, with the ongoing financing plan, it wasn't just approved and then no action was taken. That said, not speaking out of turn for Jenny, our CFO, I'm sure we're happy to speak with you about where things stand.
Okay. Again, my concerns are around the diversity and around the spend and around the contracting. So those are my specific concerns. I would be happy to meet with you, and if anyone else wanted to join in that, be happy to have that conversation. So we can definitely reach out to schedule such and follow up with you that way.
Thanks, Alderman.
Thank you,
Alderman Riley.
Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Chairman. I didn't have anything to be recognized for. I just wanted to be on the roll call. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, Alderman Austin.
Yes, I have you. Thank you.
Was that the TEFRA roll call, or did you take the second roll call, Chairman?
No, there's not a roll call on a TEFRA hearing. We're just doing quorum for the meeting.
All right, thanks.
So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn from Alderman Moore.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll now move on to our regular order of business. Before we do that, let me just check to make sure. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll again so that we have a definitive roll call here. All right. And I will start out with Vice Chair Hairston.
Present.
Thank you. And this is the regular meeting. Going back to Alderman Hopkins.
Present.
Present. Alderwoman Dowell. Alderwoman King.
Present.
Alderman Sawyer.
Here.
There you are. Alderman Mitchell.
Here.
Alderwoman Harris.
Here.
Alderman Beal.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza.
Here.
Alderman Thompson.
Present.
Alderman Cardenas. Alderman Quinn.
Here.
Alderman Burke.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Present.
Alderman Moore.
Present.
Alderman Curtis.
Present.
Alderman O'Shea. Alderman Brookins.
Here.
Alderwoman Tabares.
Present.
Alderman Scott. Alderman Burnett.
Present.
Alderman Urban.
Alderman Urban is present.
Alderman Taliaferro.
Present.
Alderman Roborges.
Present.
Alderwoman Austin.
Present.
Alderman Villegas. Alderwoman Mitz.
Present, Mr.
Alderman
Chairman.
Sposato.
Next
Yes.
Posato's here.
Alderman Napolitano. Alderman Riley.
Present.
Alderwoman Smith.
Present.
Alderman Tunney. Alderman Osterman.
Present.
And Alderwoman Silverstein.
Present.
Alderman Dowell, present.
Thank you. I got you. All right. Good morning again, colleagues. I'll watch to see if anybody else hops in. And Alderman Kappelman, I see you're in the meeting along with, sorry, I thought I saw somebody else hop in there. Get up in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Committee on Finance. The time is 10:21 Monday, July 19, 2021. Pursuant to applicable law, my determination that attendance by remote means was necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent due to the declared public health disaster of COVID-19. This meeting is conducted by video conference. For questions during the meeting, aldermen should use the raise your hand function to indicate they have a question, and members of the committee shall be given preference. However, I know some folks are on their phones, so I'll try to watch out for the hands up there or the point of information. But try to use that raise your hand function if possible. And also note that your yes or present response for the quorum is deemed as a yes vote when this quorum call was used as a reference, when it's used as a reference vote for later items. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 31 members present. We have a quorum. Before we start out on our agenda, we have one public speaker for the day, and that public speaker is Mr. Ryan O'Donnell. Mr. O'Donnell, are you ready? You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, I'm ready. Thank you.
Great. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Great. Good morning, members and staff of the Committee on Finance. For years, Chicagoans have sought drastic reform of the ticketing, booting, towing, and appeals processes and the policies and practices of the City of Chicago Department of Finance. The way that Chicago preys on people for revenue through predatory ticketing, booting, and seizing of vehicles has ruined thousands of lives. It has cost people their livelihoods, thrown them into bankruptcy, and taken away their ability to reasonably own any vehicle. As Mayor Lightfoot said before she became mayor, this sort of punitive policy is wrong and counterproductive, as it makes it harder for the person to earn a paycheck if their car has been booted or sold. Unfortunately, Mayor Lightfoot and every member of the Committee on Finance has let us down. Despite each of you at some point making claims of working to fix the parking, ticketing, towing, and selling issues that the City of Chicago creates, a system that creates a revenue stream off of the low income and financially unstable, none of you have taken any real steps to fix this system. Each of you have ignored the calls of the residents of Chicago and the constituents of your respective districts to resolve this. Each of you has ignored the request of Ban the Boot Chicago to meet to create an ordinance for economic justice. Each of you knows how essential transportation is to upward mobility and economic development, and yet each of you has ignored the destructive force this has been on Black communities' economic well-being. Each of you has ignored the fact that the City of Chicago is continuously violating Chicagoans' Fourth Amendment U.S. constitutional right to be free from unreasonable seizure of property. Therefore, Ban the Boot Chicago calls upon each of you as members of City Council and especially as members of the Committee on Finance to stop dodging and equivocating and finally use the power you have to fix this deeply wrong, predatory, inefficient system of the city immobilizing, seizing, and selling or destroying the private property of Chicagoans. Ban the Boot Chicago is calling on each of you again to work with us to introduce an ordinance that does all of the following. 1, puts an immediate end to the doubling and tripling of tickets. 2, puts an immediate end to the booting of privately owned vehicles. 3, puts an immediate end to the seizure of privately owned vehicles, not including temporary relocation for emergencies. And 4, orders the immediate and unconditional return of all seized vehicles. Our campaign and people power is growing. Be on the right side of this. Join us. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just check to see if anybody else hopped on late, and I think we're good there. All right, our first item number 1 is the approval of the Rule 45 report from the June meeting. Does anyone have any changes or questions on the Rule 45 report? As there's no questions, may I have a motion to approve the report by the affirmative vote?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Alderwoman Mitz has a motion to approve the report by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 2 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to amend Municipal Code sections 2-32-520 and 2-32-525 regarding the city investment policy provisions. And today we are joined by Treasurer Conyers Irvin for testimony on this matter. We're going to have the Treasurer speak to this first, and then we will take questions. Madam Treasurer, are you ready?
Good morning, Chairman. I am ready.
All right. The floor is yours, and then we'll have questions after. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning again, and certainly good morning to the members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address you on this morning to really continue the important dialogue around how the city can improve the process through which we select our municipal depository counterparts. As you know from this past March, the committee meeting that you had in March, the City Council approves a list of banking institutions that we can deposit taxpayer dollars, making them our municipal depositories. Well, in the wake of a very healthy discussion from March's committee hearings, I really took it upon myself after that to reach out and work with Comptroller Sony to form a municipal depository task force. Now, over the past few months since March, my team in the Treasurer's Office has really been preparing for the rollout of this task force while researching goals, setting expectations for making tangible improvements to the municipal depository selection process in a way that addresses the many valid concerns that you as Alder people have raised. The task force is expected to have its initial meeting early this fall in preparation of the 2022 selection process. However, understanding your many concerns, I believe there is something that we can do right now to alleviate another round of RFPs that only includes larger institutions that we feel have lending challenges with Black and Brown communities of our city. We know from ongoing feedback, the main barriers that banking institutions face when contemplating responding to the depository RFP is one, cost, and two, the sheer magnitude of the information required for the submission. We believe that cost is something that we can work on right now as we prepare for the RFP process that is actually going to open over the next few months and not necessarily have to wait until the task force makes that change. The main component of cost comes by way of the city's collateralization requirement on deposits held by a depository. Currently, ordinance requires a bank to pledge collateral valued at 102% of a deposit held. This can make holding our money expensive for a bank, especially smaller to mid banks. We've actually had banks tell us, we just cannot take your deposits because the higher the threshold, the higher the cost to the depository. So this ordinance before you proposes to reduce that threshold from 102% to 100%. Now, while this change does not completely eliminate the cost on taking on our deposits, it is certainly a step in the right direction. Just to provide you some information from our research, it shows that it is not uncommon to see public sector entities collateralizing at 100%. We specifically point to the states of New York, New Jersey, and Texas. So we think it is a prudent and positive step to make this change that would align us with other larger cities and states. Now, while this change will lower the burden for all of our municipal depository counterparts, we think that this will be particularly helpful for the small to mid-sized community banks. By reducing the cost of collateralization, we allow a bank to free up capital that can in turn be loaned out into the community. We think that getting these deposits to these smaller community banks is the key to generating much needed lending in Chicago. As recently as 2019, community banks were responsible for about 30% of all commercial real estate loans and about 36% of all small business loans. Community banks traditionally focus on building relationships with individuals and small business owners and tend to make loans that require more interaction with the borrower. We know that these are important steps in building the foundation of healthy and vibrant communities. And certainly we thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Alderman Waguespack, members of the committee, for your time today. And I certainly also want to thank the mayor and her team for introducing this ordinance on my behalf. I look forward to the important work that we have ahead of us on this very important initiative, and certainly more to come.
All right, thank you, Madam Treasurer. I know we have to have questions on this. I'm assuming. Anyone
None from Jason, please.
Yeah, a little inside ball game there. Oh, but he has his hand up. So Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Treasurer. Quick question, as it relates to the smaller banks and the collateralization requirements, is it possible or has any thought been put into like going below 100%? Because as you stated, it is expensive to collateralize. And how does looking at going below 100, I know some places are below 100, and how have you all thought about that, going below 100 to help smaller banks, or having a threshold different for people with certain amounts of assets versus others?
I think that's a great question. Thank you for that, because we've thought about that, but right now we just wanted to introduce the 100%. Certainly, I think with the task force ahead of us, that is something that we can look at because we want to encourage smaller and mid-sized banks. And the fact is that our money is expensive to banks, especially smaller to mid-sized banks. And so if we can lower the threshold, certainly we want to do that. Let me also point out to this question, I think that sometimes we speak at both sides of our mouth. In one aspect, we want the security, but in another aspect, we want smaller and mid-sized banks to lend to our community. We're going to have to give somewhere in there. I don't really even know how this 100% is going to go. I don't know if it's going to attract enough smaller to mid-sized banks that we want. I think this is a step, and we can certainly look further, but it's going to certainly be the appetite of the council. But what I plan to do with the task force is to provide the information to you to be able to make that decision.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman, I would have assumed you would have discussed that over breakfast, but.
We didn't get a chance to, but thank you.
I slept in
Sometimes it's the only time we get to see each other, but thank you.
Yeah, you're probably both out the door long before that. So, all right, Alderman Osterman, I'll jump over to you.
Just want to commend the treasurer for her leadership in this space. I think, as we as a city are coming out of COVID and hopefully having a housing resurgence, it's important that every community in the city of Chicago feels that, and residents of Chicago, specifically on the south and west side and the African American Latino communities, are able to get the loans they need to provide stable housing and grow our city in the future. She's been a leader in this. She's tough, and I appreciate the approach she has with this and look forward to partnering her as we move forward collectively. So that's all I want to say. Thank you. Also want to congratulate the controller too for her stepping in and understanding the importance of this aspect. Thank you.
And Alderman Osterman, I know we work together a lot, our teams. Thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you with the equity ordinance. Thank you.
Yes, that's another one that'll be coming up as well. So in a separate hearing, but I think it's definitely connected and relevant. And let me go to Alderwoman Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Madam Treasurer.
Good morning, Chairman.
To Alderman Irvin, I had to take my clips out of my hair. But I have, I'm going to assume one is a mid-sized bank, which is United, but the other ones that I have, which is Chase, but the two that are the larger ones that are not in my ward, which is US Bank, they're in the 19th ward and in the 9th ward, but my constituency utilizes all three banks. Now, how can they benefit? Because I'm always on them about, loaning to the community. And, some of the businesses that we have, I've even taken them to the bank, to the managers there that I had formed a relationship with. But it doesn't seem to go anywhere. It just stays stagnant. So how will these banks be able to participate? I know Chase, they're the bigger one. So how do I get to my smaller one?
And I want the names again. Chase, we heard that, as you know, in their depository. But you said United?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the other one?
US Bank.
US Bank. And so that's one of the things that has always surprised me. We have some banking institutions in the city of Chicago that do not even apply, that I think is, like you said, and I think US Bank would be probably considered a larger bank.
Yes.
But from my understanding, they don't even apply. I'm using them as an example since you mentioned it. And we do know a lot of our residents that bank with them. So to your question of how do we get more smaller and banking institutions to be a part of the process, I am going to do something that I don't know has been done in the past. I'm actually going to make some personal outreach calls myself for the RFP process. We've heard some banks that say they didn't even know about the application process. Same as residents, right? When we have initiatives, sometimes they'll say, oh, I hadn't heard about that. Banking institutions are the same way. And we can't take for granted that all of them know what it means to be a depository, understand the process. And I know that Comptroller Sony and her team, they really do a great job in reaching out. I think that it will also be helpful if an elected is reaching out to let them know, well, first of all, if it's going to come from the treasurer's office that is going to put money in that bank, it certainly makes sense for myself to reach out as well. So that is a challenge that I've seen, and I am committed. That's why I asked the name. I'm glad you brought that up, because if there's any other banks that Alderman would like for me to reach out to, please let me know. I will be doing that over the next couple of months. Please know that the RFP process opens in September, I believe, in just a few months. And so if over the next month, if you all can get me some names, I will reach out to them.
All right, wonderful. All right, thank you, Madam Treasurer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Before I go to Alderwoman Smith, I failed to mention that Comptroller Sony is on the Zoom meeting as well. So if there were additional questions for her that you had, we could have her speak to it as well. And with that, I will go to Alderwoman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I want to say congratulations to the treasurer on this project. And she really put her finger right on it when she said the complexities of security and broadening investment. So I guess my question is, in 2008, we lost a bunch of banks because of course, the mortgage fraud crisis, I'm calling it. And then, we have a bank right now that is the subject of an awful lot of controversy for really just being, running itself into the ground. And so I guess the question is, and of course the taxpayers, are the taxpayers at risk of losing the deposit that you have made? And what are the guardrails involved in your new program that do protect it? And on the other hand, as you said, by giving these deposits, you believe, and I suppose a lot of people believe, that this will enable local institutions to do more kinds of good lending. Is that fair?
We don't believe so, Alderman Smith. The reason being, and I made a note of this myself, because I've noticed that most of our collateralized deposits are actually secured by home loan bank line of credit, which means that it's always going to be 100%. So we do not need to over collateralize. 100% is certainly suffice. I would even argue that we can go less than that, but we'll wait on that with the task force to provide more research to you. But the answer to your question right now is that we do not believe that this puts the taxpayers' dollars at risk at all. Matter of fact, we believe this is going to benefit the taxpayers because it allows the banks to free up money to lend to them.
Well, thank you. I want to make sure everybody heard that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Treasurer. I have no other questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza.
So much, Chairman, and thank you so much, Treasurer. Your leadership on this is amazing, and I want to thank you first and foremost for all that you're doing with all your outreach to the community and everything. All the programs that you make sure that people know about. My question was the same as Chairman Austin's. I am in the process of sending you an email. Royal Savings and Loan is a bank in my neighborhood. And the other small banks were bought up by, they were gobbled up by Fifth Third and the bigger guys. So I am in the process of sending you an email with the contact information. I just wanted to tell you, thank you so much for all you're doing. It is much appreciated and very impressed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alderwoman.
Thank you, Melissa, Treasurer. Sorry.
Right. Are there any other questions? All right, then I'll have Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza make a motion to approve item number 202-021-2879 by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. And also, before I do that, thank Treasurer Conyers-Irvin and Comptroller Sony for their excellent leadership on these banking issues, making these changes that I think will benefit the whole city. And with that, moved by Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and motion carries. Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Thank you, Comptroller.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Alderman Irvin, you're going to have to work on the breakfast conversation.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding you. I know you probably talk about that stuff in your sleep, which is awesome. And let me just trying to lighten it up a little. All right, item number 3 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to amend Municipal Code Section 3-56-041, extending the reduced term wheel tax licenses pilot program until July 31st, 2022. And we will be joined by Riley Boland from the clerk's office for testimony on this matter. And let's see.
Good morning, Chairman.
Okay, Riley, go ahead. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and committee members. My name is Riley Boland. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the City Clerk's Office, and I'm here today to speak on the extension of the current reduced city sticker pilot program, which provides a 4-month city sticker option for residents through July 31st of 2022. Many residents struggle to come up with the $90.88 at one time to come into compliance with the wheel tax for a passenger vehicle. The reduced term sticker allows a resident to buy a city sticker in a smaller installment of 4 months at a time at $30.30, allowing them to come into compliance at a smaller price point and enable them to avoid hefty tickets and all the fines and fees that can come with those tickets. Residents who choose the reduced term option receive a renewal notice 45 days prior to their extension or their expiration of their city sticker, reminding them that either they can come into the city clerk's office or return to the e-commerce platform and renew their sticker. Also, residents who have chosen the reduced term sticker are able to continue to buy the reduced term sticker, or they can renew the sticker at the 1 or 2 year sticker option at the time of expiration. Since the introduction of this reduced term sticker in October of 2019, the Office of the City Clerk has sold over 40,155 reduced term stickers. Of those, 11,302 were sold to residents who are coming into compliance for the first time. Our data shows that residents who choose the reduced term sticker option have maintained in compliance and have avoided penalties of ticketing. This option is available to all Chicago residents who pay the wheel tax, but it is
Muted.
Mr. Boland, go back one sentence. You just went on mute for a second there. You could go back just one sentence and reread it.
Sure. Did you catch the 11,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
start from there.
Of those, 11,302 were sold to residents who are coming into compliance for the first time. Our data shows the residents who choose the reduced term sticker option have remained in compliance and are able to avoid ticket penalties. This option is available to all Chicago residents who pay for the city wheel tax, but is designated specifically for those who might have fallen on hard times economically or may be in a financial position where they may not be able to choose between groceries or a city sticker. Without this lower price option, residents are at risk of receiving a $200 ticket every day they are not in compliance with the wheel tax. Our office, along with the mayor's office, is committed to the fines and fees reform. And now, at this point, I am happy to take any questions.
All right. Do we have any questions? Alderwoman Austin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Riley, could you go back over that cost again? I heard $30 for how long? Give me that cost.
Oh, yes. So just the passenger, which is the more common, the year rate is $90.88. However, the reduced term sticker option is $30.30.
Okay, so that's for how long is the $30?
And that's 4 months.
So they pay that $30 for 4 months.
Correct.
And if they take a 2-year?
The 2-year is $181.72.
Okay.
Or sorry, 74. I apologize.
Okay, I need to know how to explain this back to my seniors.
So for seniors, you have the 3208 option for the 1-year sticker. So as long as they have the valid Illinois driver's license or state ID, they're able to get one senior reduced large or passenger or large passenger, and then one small senior small truck.
Okay.
And the senior small truck is 135.
All right. Okay, real good. I wasn't sure the figures that you had gave. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Alderwoman. Mr. Boland, do you have a PDF or some type of flyer that already is on the website that you could forward to everyone?
Yeah.
With that breakdown?
Yeah, we also do put in our renewal notices the 4-month option in that line. So you have the 4-month, the 12-month, and 24-month option when you get your renewal notices.
Great.
But yes, I can send that. Mm-hmm.
That would be great. We can get it, or if you could just send it to all the aldermen, just as a piece they can put out for seniors or anyone else, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
I'll go to Alderman Lopez and then Alderman Curtis.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, members of the committee. Good morning, Riley. Can you tell us what the cost to the city has been for this pilot program? Has there been any kind of negative financial impact to the city?
No, there hasn't been any negative impacts. With the 11,000 that have come into compliance, it's actually added additional revenue to the city. So,
and how much was that?
The additional revenue has been a little over $700,000.
And do you track by ward who is taking advantage of this program?
I'm sure we could probably go through and run a report. It may take some time.
If you could provide through the chair a list of participants by the number of participants by ward, not necessarily the people, but just how well it's being used, I think that would be great. I think oftentimes there's a disconnect between communities, so if we could help identify where we're falling short. And also, if you have a list by ward of potential vehicles that are able to utilize this, that would be great as well.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
I'll list vehicles by ward. I'm assuming you would have like your target audience for this by ward. If you could provide that to us as well. So we could see if, for example, in the 15th ward, if we know there are 1,000 vehicles out of compliance and only 300 people participating, then we can see what we need to do to try to address that and bring more of those folks to compliance. As a fictitious example, of course, I'm sure the ward has the best participation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Alderman Curtis and then Alderwoman Mitz.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, everyone. I would just like to say this is an awesome program. I've gotten a ton of feedback from this program since it started. This is a great program, especially for people that have big vehicles, big SUVs, or larger vehicles, where the vehicle sticker each year costs maybe $200. They're able to be in compliance with getting a 4-month sticker way under $100. It's been an awesome program, and I want to commend the mayor's office and the city clerk for actually coming up with this program, because I think it's great. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderwoman Mitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too think that this is a great program, and I would like to be requested as a co-sponsor to the program. I'll be sending in the statement. Just wanted to go on record saying that. So thank you so much. Thank everyone that worked on it, is thinking outside of the box to make it more economical for people who are trying to stay in compliance with all the guidelines that they have to go through to get these stickers. Giving them option and choices, I think it's a great thing. Thank you.
Chairman, we've lost our
Chairman, you're
audio.
muted.
You're not muted, but we don't hear you.
Sorry, this is a frequent occurrence. Let us just handle some headphones and we'll be right back with everyone. Thank you.
Kamal, is that working? Kamal?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Sorry, everyone. I just had to switch out the sound card here. My apologies. Alderwoman Mitz, my sound went out there. Did you get everything asked that you needed to?
No, I was asking to be a co-sponsor to the ordinance, and thanking the department for being innovative in trying to make choices for our constituents. So I'll be sending in the signed co-sponsor letter.
Okay. And I'm sure anybody else that wishes to do so, make sure you get that co-sponsorship form done there. My apologies, Alderwoman. I just on that sound issue. And before we move on, I was just notified, given a note for those of you just to check in later on, that Alderman Bernie Hansen, former Alderman Bernie Hansen, has passed away, former 44th Ward Alderman. So maybe just take a look and I'm sure there'll be some more information out here pretty quickly, but I know that some of you on the council have served with him in years past. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that and wish his family well. Alderman Curtis.
Yeah, Chairman, I would also like to add the reason why I like this program so much. Deputy Clerk, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you're working with the police department, but the city stickers have gotten so expensive that it's already on the black market. So I've spoken with my commander. They've already caught people. Maybe they've been in a car accident or switching over vehicles for some reason. They have stickers that's actually they're not real stickers. They don't even have the plate numbers on them, but they are selling them on the black market already.
Alderman, if you can give me some areas that I guess the police have found. We do have some investigators that can go out and check for those fraudulent or fake city stickers.
Right. Okay. I'll definitely contact you in the clerk's office, or you can contact me and I'll give you more information.
Yeah, we'll have Ari reach out and we'll get back to you shortly about possibly sending out some investigators to look into this.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Alderman. With that, Alderman Curtis has a motion to approve item O 2021-2643 by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
And in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Boland, for testifying today. Appreciate it. And if you could get that information requested by Alderman Lopez and Alderman Curtis directly to the Alderman, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, item number 4 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to declare intent to issue multi-family housing revenue bonds for RS Roosevelt Square 3B project to RS Affordable 1 LLC, LR Development Company LLC for rehabilitation and new construction on CHA properties located at 1002 South Racine Avenue, 1257 West Roosevelt Road, 1357 West Roosevelt Road, 908 to 919 South Ada Street, 1306 West Taylor Street, and other various properties located in the 25th and 28th wards. We are joined by Ms. Anna Booth from DOH for testimony on this matter.
Thank you, Chairman Wagerspat and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Anna Booth from the Department of Housing. Before you today is the bond inducement ordinance for the benefit of the Roosevelt Square transaction. This ordinance establishes the city's intent to issue bonds up to $87 million for the benefit of Roosevelt Square 3B. The proposed Roosevelt Square transaction is a CHA plan for development located in the 25th and 28th wards on the near west side. The developer is Related Midwest. This upcoming phase will produce 222 new mixed income rental units, the rehabilitation of the National Public Housing Museum, and the rehabilitation of 184 units from phase 1 located on scattered sites. Tenant and community amenities will include fitness rooms, tenant package rooms, off-street parking, a market, and the National Museum. Additionally, the completed Taylor Street Library sits directly across the street from the museum. Of the 222 new units, 80 will rent to CHA families, 45 to affordable families at the 80% area median income and below levels, and 97 to unrestricted market rate families. Unit sizes will range from studios up to 3 bedrooms. The proposed total development cost for this phase will be a little over 141 million, approximately 141, 284, 920. And in addition to the tax exempt bonds, the city will provide 17 million in TIF funds, which was approved at CDC on July 13th. Donation tax credits will also be provided, which will produce an additional equity of 2,250,000 for the benefit of the project. This project will be presented at City Council and Finance again in September and October. Again, this is just the bond inducement ordinance today. Both Alderman Irvin and Alderman Sidra Lopez are supportive of this phase of Roosevelt Square. And I can answer any questions that you may have at this time regarding the bond inducement.
Thank you, Ms. Booth. Alderman Moore has a question for you.
Thank you. Is this project still being done by Related?
That is correct. Related Midwest is still the developer. And Related Midwest was chosen as the master developer in 1999. This phase will be the 4th phase, although it is called 3B. And it is called 3B because it is a continuation of the Taylor Street Library and Apartments.
Is anyone from Related on the line today?
I believe Michael Kaplan was going to try and join us.
Try, so that's saying that's no, nobody.
Hold on, Alderman Moore. Hold on.
I think he's
just looking to see if he's on the call. I'm sorry, Ms. Booth, it was
Michael Kaplan, Kaplan.
Yeah. Did he have another? I thought sorry, I'm just looking through the names here. And I didn't realize this one went back to 1999. So is there somebody else other than Mr. Kaplan?
Michael Kaplan was going to be the senior person from Related to join us.
No, we don't have him on here. Alderman Moore, let me see if we can get him on the call. Hold on one second. Maybe hold that question until we can get him on. Are there any, maybe you have other questions or?
No, we can wait till we get him on the call and then everybody else can go forward.
Sure. Are there any other questions from Ms. Booth? Alderman Irvin and Alderman Moore, just hold that question and we'll go to Alderman Irvin first.
Yeah, I was going to ask the Alderman if he had what question you may have. Maybe staff or I could answer the questions you may have.
No, the rental side, Chairman, I think, first of all, I appreciate your work and continue to push for this. It's been a long time coming, number one. This is good, but my concern from Related is their for sales piece. And from when I was at CHA during that time and on, that for sale piece was a critical piece. And I know that's a piece that's been held up, but also one that there's minority partners that's involved in it that I want to make sure that those relationships and how they moving forward with those relationships with the minority partners are going.
I can speak to that.
Go ahead, Alderman Irvin.
The Quest Development, which was the previous partner from the consummation of the deal, has been re-engaged on the for sale side of this equation. Actually, the for sale component was something the community was very adamant about happening. We've done a lot of rental housing, we've done a lot of affordable housing, but we really haven't done a lot of for sale and or market rate. And so community was very adamant about that. Related went back and kind of sharpened their pencils, working with Quest. This has been going on for the better part of 2 years. And I'm like 99%, they're 99% there on getting that component passed. So this will definitely be part as we work to, as I say, do the infill housing with the for sale that was generally promised as part of the process.
All right, thanks, Chairman.
Thanks for that answer, Alderman Irvin. Alderman Irvin, or actually Alderman Moore, did you have any other questions on that?
No.
Okay. Alderman Irvin, would you like to say anything further on this item?
No, essentially this is, I mean, this is just the inducement. It's a great project. I actually, this will probably be one of the first larger projects where you'll have 100% general contractors, African-American, Latino general contractors operating at, level of over $100 million in construction. There are 3 African-American companies, 1 Latino company working on all of this development as general contractors for this. And we hope this is something that it works well, and it's something that can be replicated, not just for public projects, but also for private projects in other areas of our city. So hopefully this all pans out and we can use this as a model going forward. So that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderman Siccho Lopez, did you want to comment as well, since it's shared between you and Alderman Irvin?
Yeah, well, thank you, Chairman. I just adding to what some of our colleagues have said. This has been a long time coming. It is, of course, imperative that we keep building affordable housing, public housing. This is a mix of public, affordable, and market rate. In our part of the ward, in the 25th ward, I think we have vast majority are public housing as well as affordable housing, and 28% is market rate. So we continue working to make affordable housing closer to the average median income of the area. So look forward to working with Related, Alderman Irvin, and the residents for this project to keep the promise of building the number of affordable and especially public housing units that were teared down. And also one of the things that we are working with Related is ensuring local hiring, and that the commercial spaces in the area also connect with the local residents, as the issue of employment is also an issue that we want to make sure incorporates a lot of the local residents. So look forward to working together, and thank you for the support on this project.
Thank you, Alderman. And with that, Vice Chair Hairston moves to approve item O2021-2893 by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Aye. Thank you. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Booth.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, item number 5 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the authority to amend and enlarge Chicago Enterprise Zone number 1, conditioned on state approval of modification. We're joined by Beth McGuire and Terrence Johnson from Planning for testimony on this matter.
Good morning, Alderman and members of the committee.
Here you are. Go ahead. Just state your name and title and proceed.
Hi, my name is Beth McGuire. I'm a project manager with the Department of Planning, and it looks like I was just disabled from screen sharing. So if I can be enabled so I can share the presentation, that would be great.
1 second there.
Oh, I'm sorry, it'd be for Terrence Johnson. I'm in his office right now.
Okay.
She should be able to share screen now.
There you go. Got it. We can see it, Beth. Beth, are you in Terrence's office, you said? There you go.
Yes, I am. Okay, so now, okay.
Start from the beginning.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Let me start again. Third time's the charm. Okay, good morning, Alderman Wagspack and Finance Committee members. My name is Beth McGuire with the City of Chicago's Department of Planning and Development. I'm a project manager there, and we are here today to discuss the expansion of Enterprise Zone 1. Sorry, it's not forwarding. Okay. All right, the city is seeking to expand the zone to support a new development. The development undertaken by Marquette Companies will revitalize a major intersection, generate a $140 million investment, and also create 450 construction jobs and 130 permanent jobs. The area to be added to the zone is a parcel located at 1926 West Harrison in the near West Side community area. You can see that right here. This map shows the current boundaries of Enterprise Zone 1. The zone measures approximately 10 square miles and encompasses a large portion of the west side, including portions of community areas such as Lawndale and East and West Garfield Park, Austin, and others. You can see on this map, the area shaded in blue by the big red arrow. That is the expansion area. It's approximately 3 acres. And this map shows a closer view of the expansion area. It's bounded by Damon Avenue on the west, Ogden Avenue on the east, Congress Parkway on the north, and Harrison Street on the south. Here's an area context again showing the site is near Cook County Hospital, Rush Medical Center, the Eisenhower Expressway, and it sits within the Illinois Medical District. Another area context just showing that this sits across the expressway from Malcolm X College and the Blackhawks Training Center. And a close-up of the site boundaries again. The site is in red. Here are some pictures of the site current conditions. The existing apartment building is in need of rehabilitation, which is currently being performed by Marquette Companies. Again, another current condition of the site. Here is a rendering of the proposed project, which includes 2 newly constructed residential towers. The expansion process follows the process as laid out in the state statutes. It was introduced to City Council in June, and the public hearing was held on July 7th. If this is approved by the Finance Committee and full council later this week, the application will then be sent to the State Department of Economic Opportunity for final approval. And again, this project will allow the developer to take advantage of the sales tax exemption on construction materials. This project will revitalize a section of Ogden Avenue and bring significant investment into this area. It will be 400 units of rental housing, 15,000 square feet of retail, and 30,000 square feet of commercial. In conclusion, the Department of Planning and Development supports the expansion of Enterprise Zone 1. We are here to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Beth. As you mentioned, we had a public hearing on this on July 7th. I believe Mr. Sloniger from Marquette spoke at that meeting as well, and this is in the 28th Ward. Do we have any questions? Alderman Urban, I don't know if you wanted to speak to this one as well. And actually, I have a question from Alderman Burnett first.
Go ahead.
Well, it's not a question. It's just a statement. First of all, I want to congratulate Alderman Urban on that project. I don't know if they mentioned. With this project, there's going to be some affordable housing in this development. This developer is doing 3 developments in my ward. This would be the 4th one overall that he's done. He's doing affordable housing in some of those developments, and he's doing offsite over in this development. And I think he's willing to do a lot of things to get things back to the community. I think it's fitting that we put him in the enterprise zone and make his load easier as he try to reproduce this building, because it is going to have some community benefit with the affordable housing. So I just want to commend Alderman Irving on his effort. This is another way of helping developers who are doing the right thing in our community. So just wanted to mention that. Congratulations.
Thanks, Alderman Burnett. Alderman Irvin?
I guess I'll say ditto. The property in question is the old medical center apartments in the IMD. Really more or less a dilapidated building that had been built in the, I think, early 60s, fallen in great disrepair. And Darren stepped in, picked up the building as part of a deal he was doing in the 27th Ward to create additional affordable units under the ARO. So the existing building, and then there'll be some new buildings built. Also, with the increase in construction materials and the like, kind of put the project out of whack a little bit. This sales tax exemption, which is the primary driver of the of this application, would lighten the load on them. One question I think that Alderman Tunney brought up before, I'm not quite sure was 100% answered regarding the transfer taxes. And I believe that, let me correct myself. That was a question, but Mr. Slaughter says that they intend to hold the property. So this really is an investment being ultimately made by the state. Our portion of the sales tax, pales in comparison to what the state has. And furthermore, the transfer tax exemption component is not something looking to be exercised here. So for us, this is a great pickup, a net win, not only in property taxes, but in affordable housing and construction value and other things that would be beneficial to residents of the city of Chicago, and especially those on the west side. So if there are any other comments.
Yes, there are actually. Hold on, Alderman Irvin. Alderman Scott would like to speak on it too, and he might have a question for you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Alderman Irvin, is this the building that is on the corner of Harrison and Ogden?
Yeah, it's Harris and Ogden, right bounded on the expressway, that big, probably 20-story building there.
And it was brown, and it's now
yes,
now,
correct. That's it.
It has the black facade now.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. That's the question I had, and want to congratulate you on that. I have seen that building for quite some time. Actually, when I was in elementary school, I had a young man who used to pick up on a bus that lived there. And so I know it's been vacant for about 10, is it about 10 years now?
The building, it hasn't been vacant that long, but it just had been in great disrepair. Basically all the people moved out, boilers weren't functioning, HVAC system was a wreck. And ultimately, Darren came in, purchased the building, has brought new life back into it. They're in the process now leasing up. And then, as the IMD's plan development is amended, we'll give them the opportunity to build additional units on the site.
Okay, well, that is a great location and a great property. And to put affordable housing in that location, I think is a win for not only your community, but the city of Chicago. So just want to commend you for the hard work and getting that property back online again. It's a great location, and you can't do that if you're going to get some affordable housing. It is a great thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alderman Scott. And Alderman Irwin, I don't see any other questions. So I appreciate your work on that. And did you have anything else that you wanted to wrap up on that, or?
No, I just move passage.
Okay. How about I'll have Alderman Scott make a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Congratulations, Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Appreciate you coming on again. And Mr. Sloniger as well. I think we can. All right, just check there. All right. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Ladies and gentlemen, item number 6 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance regarding the Bronzeville Lakefront Infrastructure Agreement with Grit Chicago LLC for city-owned public improvements, including a park along East 31st Street on the former Michael Reese Hospital campus. We are joined by Tim Jeffries from Planning for testimony on this matter. And Tim, are you set with presentation? I still have you muted.
How about now?
All set. Okay.
Okay, great. Good morning, Chairman Wagesback and members of the Committee on Finance. For the record, my name is Tim Jeffries, Deputy Commissioner in the Department of Planning and Development. I'm here today to request your authority for the city to enter into an agreement with Grit Chicago LLC for the purpose of making $60 million in public infrastructure improvements on behalf of the city. Funding for that project will come from the city's capital improvement plan budget that was approved by City Council in November of 2020. This work is necessary to facilitate the planned Bronzeville Lakefront project, a 7 million square foot mixed-use development on the site of the former Michael Reese Hospital. Grit is the multi-partner developer of the proposed Bronzeville Lakefront project, and it's comprised of Farpoint, Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, McLaren Development Partners, Loop Capital, Bronzeville Community Development Partnership, and Draper and Kramer. The infrastructure improvements will be primarily located within the 48.6 acres of city-owned land that is roughly bounded by 26th Street to the north, Lake Park Avenue to the east, 31st Street to the south, and Vernon Avenue to the west. The property is located in the 4th Ward and the Douglas community area. The site is the location of the former Michael Reese Hospital, which operated from 1881 to 2008 when it closed due to financial issues. In 2009, the city purchased the property as the proposed Olympic Village site for the ultimately unsuccessful bid for the 2016 Olympic Games. Since that time, the property has remained vacant. In 2016, the city released a request for proposals for the development of the property and ultimately selected Grit and their Bronzeville Lakefront project as the winning bid. The related legislation for the project's zoning and accompanying land sale agreement will be considered at tomorrow's meetings of the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards, as well as the Committee on Housing and Real Estate, respectively. This agreement before you today, however, will provide $60 million in funding for the construction of the infrastructure necessary for the Bronzeville Lakefront project. This includes almost 10,000 linear feet of new and improved roadways, as well as 2 acres of new public park space. Per the agreement, all work must be designed, engineered, and constructed to city standards and completed within 3 years and at a cost of no more than $60 million. To the extent that costs exceed that amount, the developer is still required to deliver all infrastructure to the city, but must absorb any cost overruns at no cost to the city. In addition to the work itself, Grit is committed to exceeding the city's standards for minority participation by utilizing a minimum of 30% minority-owned firms and 10% women-owned firms. They will, however, aim to go even further than that by utilizing a combined 65% MBE WBE across the project as a whole. As you can see right here, this map shows the existing infrastructure conditions of the site with the current road network that's outlined in black. As you can see, it's fairly disconnected from the rest of the grid, and it limits access to the site to a few key points. This configuration may have been appropriate at one point, especially for a closed campus like Michael Reese, but it's just not consistent with the requirements of modern development patterns. And additionally, to the extent that the roadways do exist, they're in poor condition, they generally lack utilities, and they're just not appropriate for the scope and scale of the proposed Bronzeville Lakefront project. In order to address that, if approved, Grit would undertake the scope of work to realign the grid as shown on this map. This plan was developed in close coordination with CDOT, and it does provide logical connections to the larger regional network, as well as providing a predictable pattern for future development. The streets in black are again existing right of way, and they will remain in place, but be generally improved to CDOT standards. The red streets, on the other hand, represent entirely new roadways that'll be dedicated to the public way and also improved. In addition, Grit will construct a nearly 2-acre park immediately north of 31st Street, right here. Once this is completed, the city intends to convey that property to the Park District, which will operate it as a public park in the future. So in closing, I'd just like to reinforce that this agreement is an essential and required part of the future development of nearly 50 acres of city-owned property. The Bronzeville Lakefront project is not only an important part of the future for the Bronzeville neighborhood, but as the largest and only multi-billion-dollar private project planned in a minority community to the city as a whole as well. The project and the investment it represents, however, cannot proceed without the basic infrastructure necessary for development to occur. This agreement would provide this critical and required first step, and for that reason, DPD strongly supports this agreement. I'd like to thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. In addition to CDOT and AIS staff, we're also joined by representatives from the GRIT team, including David Doig and Sierra Boatwright from Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, Zeb McLaurin of the McLaurin Development Partners, Jim Reynolds of Loop Capital, as well as their counsel, Paul Shadle and Mariah DeGrino of DLA Piper. I again thank you all for your favorable consideration of this matter.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jeffries. And Alderwoman King will close on this item and might also want to answer some of those questions. So we'll watch for her to step in, but let's start out with Alderman Thompson. Alderman Thompson.
Trying there. Thanks, Chairman. Appreciate it. This is looks like a fantastic project and a redevelopment that's definitely going to enhance the near south side. So I look forward to seeing this development. Tim, when you're going through, I maybe have missed. What is the source? I know there was a TIF approved. Like a month, but the source for all of this infrastructure, is that from the TIF? Did I miss that?
Tim, did you get that whole question?
I didn't, but I think I got the meat and potatoes of it. So Alderman Thompson,
Alderman
Thompson,
let
me know.
You were freezing up, but
you were asking
we'll
what's the source of these funds and is it TIF?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, that's a question.
Okay, so no. Well, I guess the source of funds for this is it comes from the capital improvement plan fund that was approved last November as part of the, I think, $1.4 billion in 2021 and 2022 expenditures. TIF is not being used for this project. We do not contemplate using any TIF for it.
The capital improvement, that was from our budget?
Correct.
So is there, but what was what's the TIF being used for then?
We're using a small bit of TIF. I mean, that's not small, but we are using some TIF for the remediation of the carnotite on the northern parcel because that needs to be done immediately. But beyond that, there is no TIF for the developer. This is not a TIF RDA.
But it's in a TIF, correct?
It is in a TIF district, correct.
Okay, and so what are we going to do with all the increment that when these buildings are up?
Well, as of right now, I think the TIF is slated to expire in 2024. So, short of a council or a action in Springfield to extend it, that EAV will roll back onto the TIF. This is also a 14-year deal or 14-year development term. So no matter what happens, that money will always return to the EAV, the base EAV of the city. I would say that Bronzeville is also an extremely large TIF district that spreads, from the northern edge of Bronzeville to Kenwood. So there's a lot of demand in that area. There's a lot of need in that area. And of course, to the extent that we don't find that, the city will continue to surplus funds as we always do.
Okay, so that remediation work that we're doing at the north end is not funded with the TIF, or it is?
It is, yes, it's partially funded with the TIF.
Okay. Well, as I said, I think this will be a great addition to the city, and to see that development continuing along there, I think it'll only enhance. So I look forward to seeing this development. Thanks. No further questions.
Thanks, Alderman Thompson. Alderman Beal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just got a couple of questions, Tim. Who's the anchor tenant on this particular site?
Well, it's 7 million square feet. So hopefully there's more than one anchor tenant, but at least in the short term, it's a company called Sheba. They will be operating in one of the first buildings, which will be the ARC Innovation Building. They are one of the largest, most renowned medical innovation firms in the entire country, or entire world, I'm sorry. They're based out of Israel, and they will anchor about 100,000 square feet of the first, in that first 500,000 square foot ARC building.
And how many employees are projected with that first phase?
Is someone from Grit on that can speak to? I can get you, if they can't, I can get you detailed answers, but I have them broken out in aggregate for the project as a whole, but I can get them for you.
Is there anybody on the team that can answer that?
Yeah, I think, Sam, I know you had
David or Sierra or Zeb. Are you guys on the line?
No, Paul's on as well. Which one of you would like to take that question from Alderman Beal?
Yeah, I can take a shot. There will be several hundred.
David, could you just introduce yourself first for the record, please?
Yes, David Joig with Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives. Thank you, Chairman. There'll be several hundred new employees as part of the 500,000 square foot new ARC building. That will include hiring as much as we can from the local community, as well as folks from around the city.
Okay. Do you have any other anchor tenants besides the one lined up thus far?
No, that's our lead blocker and our kind of major tenant as part of the first phase.
Okay. All right. Well, I do know you have to have that first anchor, that first person to, basically jump in the water in order to get things going. And so, I'm way too familiar with how that works. And I just want to also commend the team on reconfiguring the streets, the infrastructure, because it's important to have all that traffic flowing in a nice manner. So I do commend the team on that. And so, but overall, I think this is a wonderful project. I've been following it from a distance, and I think it's a great team in place, a great project. I know Alderman King has been very instrumental in bringing this to the fourth ward. So I'm really excited for her in the city. And, I think this is a great project, great team in place. And I think nothing but great success is going to come out of this. So thank you so much from Department of Planning and the team, and Alderman King as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderman Hopkins.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question for Mr. Jeffries. Given the relatively modest amount of TIF money that is spent in this project, can you give me a combined total, add that small amount of TIF to the total amount of public dollars from all sources of the capital budget as well? And what is the total cost of public support for this project?
Let me get 1 sec. Inclusive of the Carnotite and the public infrastructure, it's about $91 million, up to $91 million. Of course, we hope it comes in as less, but those are the contract values.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alderman Hopkins. Alderman Moore. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. As I've been looking, and not only at it today, but hearing about this over the months. First of all, I want to commend Alderman Sophia King for all of her hard work and dedication on this, and I'm just excited about the work she was able to do to pull a great team together. When you got people like David Doy, Zeb McLaurin, and Jim Reynolds on the same team working together. That's something, you know, major. And I hope we can even move further south with a team like that. And so I look forward to seeing this project completed. I think it's good for Chicago. I have no doubt that it's good for the Fourth Ward, but I think it's good for Chicago, and I think it's going to be a great benefit. But I think the work that Alderman Sophia King has done to make this the project that it is something to be totally commended. And I just wanted to say that, and I stand in support of this project. Thank you.
I'll just, from the department's perspective, I agree. Couldn't agree more with you. This project this large is difficult, but you know, Alderman King worked closely with us, and it is absolutely a better product because of her input and her participation in that process.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also wanted to put my congratulations in on this. You know, it's great that they have a great team that they put together. I appreciate Jim Reynolds and also Zeb McLaurin. These are some of the most successful African-American folks in our city. We appreciate them. I admire Jim for transitioning from finance to development. I think this is a great project. Scott Goodman does a lot of work in my ward. Have always been willing to work with African Americans. And David Doik, I think he's African American. He does a lot out there in Pullman and the Pullman area, has done a great job. I think this is a great project. I commend the alderman on her tenacity, her always positioning herself to make sure that her community come first and taking care of the community. I think it's unique that they have a company from Israel that can go anywhere in the world that's coming to Chicago, in Bronzeville, and doing this project. I think this is great, not only for Bronzeville, for the city, but it's great for our country. So I just commend planning and everyone who worked on this. I know it's been a long time coming, so just congratulations.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderwoman Dowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to first congratulate Alderman King and the development team for getting to this point. I'm very excited about this project as the alderman closest geographically to Alderman King. And so I just have a couple of questions. If I could hear a little bit about the affordable housing component of this project plus other public benefits. And if the development team could talk about their vision for how this project connects to the broader Bronzeville community, that would be appreciated. And congratulations to all.
Yeah, just give me 1 second here to pull up my remarks on the community benefits. I can say, at least to start with, the development project will be providing, we'll be meeting the city's ARO requirements. So 20% of all units will be affordable. They will additionally be on site, meaning that they will not buy out or try to place them in another area or another part of the city. They will be, Bronzeville lakefront units in Bronzeville lakefront, which is great. In addition to it, a lot of this stuff is encapsulated in the land sale agreement, which will be at the Committee on Housing and Real Estate tomorrow. But at a high level, GRIT will be providing a 40,000 square foot community center in the ARC Innovation Building. They will be providing $10 million in funding towards that project. Additionally, they will be providing $25 million to CPS in order to make facility improvements in the area around the project. They will also be providing or setting aside rather, 10% of all the retail space in the development for local businesses in the area, and those businesses will get that space at a 20% rent reduction below the market rate for what the development is as a whole. That's in addition to other things that are more construction based, like in addition to 30-10 for this infrastructure agreement, that will apply to the development as a whole. So 30 and 10 on a $3 billion vertical construction project. That's obviously very significant numbers. Will additionally, as with this agreement, aspire to hit 65% combined among MBE, WBE. They'll also provide 10 annual internships through either GRIT, the company themselves, their development entities, or their contractors, as well as pursuing 12.5% of all apprenticeships for the construction hours going to local residents. This is in addition to, frankly, the benefits that the city inures on having a development, having 50 acres of development back on the tax rolls and potentially generating $3.1 billion in property tax revenue over a 15-year term, as well as the things like the infrastructure, which are and the parks that are being considered today.
Thanks, Daniel. On the 20% ARO, how many units does that equal? I know those numbers may change, but what?
I think it's currently up to 5,000 total units, so that would be about 1,000 affordable units.
Okay, all right.
As
and
you
then,
said, up to.
Okay, then my last question is on the infrastructure side. I haven't looked at a site plan, so are the roads going to be connected to the existing grid?
They are, correct. All public.
They
right
are.
Yes.
Tim, can you
good.
put that graphic up again?
I can, just give me 1 second.
It didn't look like it showed exact connections, but maybe we can take a look at that again. Sorry, Alderwoman. There we go.
So you can see here, they will make a stronger connection here at 26th Street. I believe this will go all the way through to 29th Street now where it dead ends. Oops, you can see it here, I guess. This is the existing roadway. And then this is the future. So there'll be new connections at Vernon, the connections at Cottage Grove and Lake Park, as well as 29th Street and 26th Street will all be strengthened moving forward. These are all these improvements are also forward looking as well, meaning that obviously the marshalling yards is not part of this project and we're not discussing anything today, but all of the roadways are in here are being built contemplating that potential for development in the future, meaning that 26th Street is able to be bridged over and connecting to Lakeshore Drive in the future if need be, meaning that Lake Park Avenue potentially connects up through here and through the busway that connects from MPEA to downtown. It's that sort of stuff that really, it makes it a part of the fabric of the city. It makes these connections that simply don't exist today.
Oh, great. Thank you, Daniel. Again, I want to congratulate the development team for their creativeness and to Alderman King for getting it to the Finance Committee today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Vice Chair Hairston and then Alderman Scott. And I still have Alderwoman King wrap up, so, but we'll keep taking questions. So Vice Chair Hairston.
I actually do not have any questions. Mr. Jeffries answered those questions. I just want to add my congratulations as well to Alderwoman King. I know that this project has been ongoing and she has been working very hard to get it to the place that it is. So congratulations to her and her team. Thank you, Chair.
Excellent. Thank you. Alderman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One question, and then I'm going to throw my congratulations on Alderman King as well. So I know that there is a park that you said is going to go on the 31st side, and I just saw that. And the park district is going to take that over. Are you going to do a field house over there, Alderwoman King? Or do you know if they're planning to do a field house or it's just open space?
Yeah, thank you, Alderman. Scott. No, it's going to be open space. I wish they can show you. I think perhaps as part of the housing presentation, they may be able to show you, or if Tim can kind of bring up an illustration of well, it just shows you green space, but the illustration of how they're going to front the ARC building, which will include the Bronzeville Welcoming Center. We haven't quite named it yet. And it'll just be kind of the entryway into the gateway, if you will, into the project. It's kind of a really beautiful, sustainable green area where people can sit and, walk around, but not like a field house or a park per se in the traditional sense.
Well, I ride in that area all the time. I know it's the green space over there is necessary. It's over there. What is the school over there? Is that Pershing? Is that Pershing? What school is over there?
Look at you dating yourself. Pershing East used to be right across the street. So Pershing is a little further west. You've got Dunbar High School, which is right on King Drive, just to the west of Prairie Shores there. But those are the schools that surround it. But yeah, Pershing East was right there. We may revive that actually as part of the deal. I think you heard we've got 25 million going towards education. So as chair of the education committee, I know that's probably music to your ears, but we worked on behalf of the community. So we're excited about that as well.
If you're going to have all those residents with all of those great things, then you will need a great educational facility over there to complement all of the great things that you're doing. And I just wanted to congratulate you on all your hard work. I know that it's been a challenging road for you, if you will, about participation. And I know that you have been, one of the staunchest advocates of making sure that there's equity and parity and bringing African Americans to the table as it relates to development within our communities as a whole. So specifically in yours, I know that it is something that you've been a champion of. And so just want to congratulate you and look forward to riding my bike over there and seeing those great things popping up soon. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderwoman King, do you want to wrap up, or I don't know, Tim, did you have anything else that needed to be discussed, or can we have Alderwoman King wrap up? You're good. Okay. All right. I'll hand the floor off to her then. I don't see any other questions.
Great. Now, thank you, Chairman Wagasback, Vice Chair Hairston, and my colleagues for your consideration here. You're right. This has been a long time coming, a lot of conversation, some very, let's just say family field conversations, but that really yielded, I think, what will be seen as a great product. This infrastructure agreement is really just part of a package of ordinances for your consideration this week. As Tim mentioned, you'll be also looking at the RDA in housing, as well as the plan development and zoning. But all of these are just part of really moving the Bronzeville lakefront development forward. You might hear Bronzeville lakefront a lot lately, and some people understand it and know it as the Michael Reese development, but the community would like it to be known as Bronzeville Lakefront going forward. So just for your information, but it really, this infrastructure agreement just lays a foundation for what's to come. And I think a number of people have touched on it, but it's really a mixed use, sustainable development, which includes residential, retail, commercial, and open space. As you can see, some highlights of which folks have already touched on, but just want to highlight them again. Strong economic development. This is really for the entire city, but obviously will impact the local community with good jobs, long-term and short-term, especially around construction, professional services, but also career jobs. And, thanks to our partners in labor, especially Unite Here, we'll have great hospitality jobs. And so we're looking forward to that. As I said, it will be, a truly impactful project citywide, bringing billions of economic development dollars into our city, back into our tax base. So, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the mayor and her team represented by Commissioner Cox. Specifically working hard on this has been Cindy Rubik, Noah Franzik, Tim Jeffries, who's here, Patrick Murphy. Just want to thank them, the whole GRIT team, represented by Scott Goodman, a couple of other noted folks as part of the development team as well. But especially want to give a shout out to the Michael Reese Advisory Committee, which has been really advising me via the community the whole way, and been fighting for a lot of the community benefits that you see as part of this. Like some folks touched on, increased MBE, WB participation, paying homage to Bronzeville and the community and the Michael Reese site. Note to self that building, or note to everybody there, that first building to the north of Prairie Shores, that was my first home in Chicago. So it's kind of full circle. That was about 35 years ago. And both my kids were born at Michael Reese. So it's personal, not only to me, but obviously to the community. But anyway, the benefits, I think you heard, we're going to have a Bronzeville Welcoming Center / digital museum, which will pay homage to the Bronzeville community and everything, the storied history that's there that has impacted the world. We'll be able to have people come, locally and worldwide to see that. There's design guidelines throughout the entire development that will make sure that we pay homage to Bronzeville and the Michael Reese site. Each sub area has to at least include $25,000 to that end. We're also making sure that the community center is sustainable. There's going to be a 50 cents impact fee that will go towards the operating cost for that, so that we make sure that we can afford to be open, but we also know that people will come from all over the city and visit and help to that end as well. Again, besides intentional inclusion and diversity, we've got the internships, we've got the apprenticeships, we've got affordable housing on site, 20% affordable on site. We've got senior building in the phase 1, a $25 million commitment for education, a 20% write down on 10% of all the retail for our businesses. So we've thought a lot unintentionally about this. And again, just want to thank the entire team, including the community, the development team, the mayor's office, for really ushering this through. I think it's going to be a development that all of us will be proud of as in this community. And so I ask all of you here today for your favorable consideration so that we can get this thing started.
Mr. Chairman.
Alderwoman King. Alderwoman Dowell.
I want to move this.
Okay.
I want to make this motion to move.
I was going to ask you to do that. I just had a quick reiteration from Alderwoman King. You would like it to be named the Bronzeville Lakefront community, or what word should we use?
It will be formally known as the Bronzeville Lakefront development. Not the, everybody refers to it obviously as the Michael Reese development, but the community has named it and it will be marketed as the Bronzeville Lakefront development. Okay. Yep.
Excellent.
You haven't shown pictures of the lake. I mean, we were trying to keep that a secret, but if you were to veer east on those pictures, the lake sits right there, and it's really, the most, if I may say the most beautiful site, I think, open left in the city, and we're anxious to get this new development going.
There's a good picture right behind you.
Yes, right. Thanks for pointing that out.
So I will have a motion to approve this item from Alderwoman Dowell for the Bronzeville Lakefront, item number 02021-2898, by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. And all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Congratulations, Alderwoman. And
thank you.
As
Thank
she
you,
mentioned,
Chairman.
we do have,
thank you, colleagues.
Congratulations.
We will have it in zoning and housing as well, so it'll come up again. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone, for that. And thank you, everyone who stayed on for the presentation from the development team. And Alderman Burke, did you have anything? I saw you were unmuted. Okay. Okay. Now back to the regular agenda. Item number 7 is a communication recommending a proposed substitute ordinance regarding the authority to amend Municipal Code Title 7 by adding new Chapter 7-60 entitled Plastic-Free Water Ordinance. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not proposing to hear this matter at this time or have any subject matter hearing or discussion now. The purpose was to solely accept the substitute into the committee so we can move forward with education and negotiation on this version of the ordinance. So the substitute was distributed this morning and we'll be working on it over the next few months, but I wanted to make sure that to get the substitute in, and we'll hold briefings on this and have the matter heard in committee somewhere down the line. So it is just a substitute. May I have a motion to accept the substitute?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Austin.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderwoman Austin to accept the substitute by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to communications from the Department of Law, item number 8 is the monthly report of judgment and verdicts and settlements from the Department of Law for the month of June and will be placed on file with the clerk. Items 9 and 10 are authorizations for the payment of various small claims against the city and the denial of payment of various small claims against the city. If there is no objection, these items will be placed on the omnibus. Oh, 1 second, please. Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Chairman. I was actually hoping if somebody could, from the Law Department, address the monthly settlements from June.
Yes, I think, let me see who's, I know.
Chairman?
I know Jeff was on. There you are.
Yeah, well, it's 1 minute into the afternoon. Or in any event, Jeff Levine, Law Department. I believe I am joined by my colleague Caroline Franzak. I have not had an opportunity to review that list. I don't know if Caroline is familiar with it.
Hello, this is Caroline Franzak from the Law Department. I also have not been provided that list, so I have not had an opportunity to review it. I'm happy to do so and provide any feedback or answer any questions you have, though.
I'm sorry, Chairman. Wasn't this provided to us by the Law Department?
Yes, it is. It is.
Yes.
It's a compilation, and the two of us who are here today are not routinely included in that compilation.
Well, Jeff and Caroline, I'm not going to hold you to questions that you're not ready and able to answer. But Chairman, I think in the future, as I'm looking at this list in particular, you know, if I'm reading this correctly, we're at 8.3 million for the month of June, 25 million year to date, with some pretty high verdicts on here that I was hoping to have some answers to. Can we ensure that at our next Finance Committee meeting that whomever is responsible for putting this together can be present to answer questions on these, because I think they are definitely worth having an explanation for.
We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you,
Give
Chairman.
me 1 second. Yeah, Alderman, I know we sent that out to everyone. Did you have any specific items that we can get answers on from that list. Because a lot of these are the trip and falls, but some of them are the, there are settlements on here from police and the typical monthly ones. But I think most of the larger items are police related or let's see.
Well, I saw that there are 2 verdicts that we lost, Daisha Davis and Omar Williams, aside from the various other settlements. I was trying to get a sense if these were settlements that were previously approved, not approved by us. I know the verdicts were not, because that means we lost in trial. But just still a lot of money that I think people should have answers for.
We'd be happy to meet and address your questions.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll take note of at least those 2. I'm just looking through the list right now. Just for everyone's edification, this was sent out and it would be the Finance Committee judgments list. There's also a settlements list. Sometimes the names that show up on there are ones that we have voted on, but some of them are other verdicts. So I'll make note of at least Williams and Davis for you. And Jeff, if we could get that either through the chair or meet separately, we can do that. And I know the type is extremely small, but we'll go back through it.
Through the chair would be fine with me, Chairman.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm just, in terms of through the chair, I don't know what information in particular you're looking for.
You mentioned just information on the Williams and
a summary of those 2 cases.
Davis, yeah.
Sure.
I think that would be helpful.
That's no problem.
Okay. All right, let me go back to items 9 and 10 just to make sure they're on the record. Item 9 and 10 are authorizations for the payment of various small claims against the city and the denial of payment of various small claims against the city. If there's no objection, these items will be placed in the omnibus. Item 11 is a proposed order for a tag day permit on behalf of the Knights of Columbus, Illinois State Council for a citywide tag day, September 17th through 19th, 2021. If there's no objection, I ask that these items be placed on the omnibus as well. And then, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our main agenda, and we will now move to the supplemental agenda. And with us today for the supplemental agenda, of course, is Jeff Levine from the Law Department and Caroline Franzak from the Law Department. We have 3 items or proposed orders authorizing the Corporation Council to enter into and execute settlement orders in the cases of Hudson versus City of Chicago in the amount of $1.2 million. Yauer as an independent administrator of the estate of Sean Yauer in the amount of $400,000. And Jane Doe versus the City of Chicago and William Whitley in the amount of $300,000. And I will let, I think, Jeff, you're going to do the presentation on these?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please proceed with.
Thank you, Chairman. If you don't mind, I'm going to begin with Jane Doe. My notes for that are in front of me right now. So this case is in federal court. It essentially arises out of a former Chicago police officer who was convicted of sex trafficking of a minor. The case arises out of events in 2015 when the defendant officer paid an underage female plaintiff to perform sexual acts on him on at least 5 occasions between June and September of 2015. There was an FBI investigation into his conduct. As a result of that investigation, he was federally charged with possession of child pornography and sex trafficking. He pled guilty to 4 counts of sex trafficking underage girls. He was, in 2018, sentenced to 25 years in prison. as part of his sentencing, the federal judge ordered that the entirety of his accrued pension in the amount of about $351,000 be placed into a trust for the benefit of his victims. The reason for the city's being part of this case is because, according to the criminal complaint against him, he talked openly about being a police officer and displayed his police uniform and weapon during all his interactions with the plaintiff. Additionally, over the course of his career, he had complaints made against him, some of which demonstrated a lack of respect for women. These included some sustained complaints, and it is significant that the applicable case law provides that an employer can be liable even if an employee is not acting within the scope of their employment. The employer, in this case the city, can be held liable if the employer knew or reasonably should have known that the employee was unfit for the job, in the sense that they would, in that position, create a foreseeable danger to others. So even though the city was, of course, did not condone nor was aware of this, in light of the relevant case law and the officer's history, we believe there is a risk that the city could be found liable if this were to go to trial. And accordingly, we recommend a settlement here of $300,000 as in the city's best interest.
Are there any questions for Jeff? Alderman Sposato.
Thank you, Chairman. I just have a comment. It's not a question. It's important that everybody knows. I thought it was kind of a light sentence, but I guess he's like a 55-year-old man, Jeff. So it's like he'll be in there till he's 75 or 80 or something like that if he lives through it.
I believe that sounds right. He was on the force for 26 years.
Okay. And that's all I just want to make a comment because I thought he got off kind of a little easy, but I know he plead, but at his age and the amount of time he's been there, it's basically a life sentence. So that's a good thing. That's all I want to say. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderman Thompson.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So are they suing him personally as well?
He is named as a defendant in the case.
And so you mentioned again, and I know you mentioned briefings, but that the judge has sequestered his pension or whatever and that is for the purpose of any judgments against him personally?
No, that is separate. That money is now in a trust fund for the benefit of his victims. So it is like any other trust fund where the money will be paid out upon a showing of need.
And that doesn't get, I didn't understand how you facilitate getting that unless you're suing them.
There's a the state law governing pension does not allow for a private party or even a municipality to garnish a pension. However, there is a federal law that applies in these limited circumstances that allows the federal government to in effect reach in and garnish these funds and put them into a trust fund, as has happened here.
But the plaintiff still has to sue and get a judgment for a dollar amount that then allows them to tap into that, no?
No, he pled guilty. He was sentenced. And as part of his sentencing, these funds, which were his funds, were moved over and placed in trust.
Okay. Great, thanks. No further questions.
We're going to take separate motions on these. So may I have a motion to approve item number 1C on the supplemental Jane Doe versus City of Chicago and William Whitley?
So moved, Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. And this is by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you, Alderman Lopez. Jeff, if you'd like to go on to, I think, item B.
Yauer, yes. The next case is styled as Yuan Yauer McGregor, or Schwan Yauer McGregor as independent administrator of the estate of Schwan Yauer, a deceased person. This is also a federal case. This case has at its core assertions of excessive force by the police and arises out of events that occurred in the early morning hours of Monday, June 16th, 2014. I'm going to refer to the plaintiff is the decedent's mother. So I'm going to be referring to the individual here as the decedent. The decedent was out late. He was on his way home at about 2:30 in the morning. On the way home, he began, he struck up a conversation with two unknown male strangers who were on a street corner rapping and singing. He invited them back to his apartment to listen to music. About half an hour after the three were in his apartment, the decedent's roommate came home and saw one of the new acquaintances walking out with some of his stereo equipment. The roommate took his stereo equipment back, called 911 to report a robbery, and then went to a neighbor's house or a friend's house down the street to wait for the police to show up. At that point, the two new acquaintances left. And so you have a situation where it's around 3:45 in the morning. The decedent is at his apartment and the roommate is down the street. At that point, the police show up in response to the robbery call, 5 CPD officers. And at this point, what happened next differs significantly depending on either the account of the decedent or the account of the police. The police assert that they knocked on the door. They announced that they were there in order to respond to the robbery, that the decedent was belligerent, was yelling at his roommate and berating him for calling the police, that the decedent allowed his roommate to go past him to go to the roommate's own room, but when the officers reached the top of the stairs, that the decedent blocked their way and said, "You don't have permission to come in here any further." The officer explained that he was trying to escort the roommate to his room, at which point the decedent pushed the officer pushed him back. The decedent then punched the officer in the chest, and the officer punched the decedent back. At that point, a scuffle ensued, and the officers were able to subdue the decedent, and handcuff him. According to the decedent, and by the way, this is through deposition testimony, he answered a knock at the front door. The 5 officers pushed their way in and yelled burglary in progress. He said he attempted to show them ID to show that he lived there and his lease, and that they rejected, both of those rejected his offer. He claims that they made disparaging verbal remarks about his Kurdish name, that he told them he took medication for anxiety and was feeling anxious at that moment, and they ignored that. And he followed them upstairs to his bedroom and suggested that they needed a search warrant to search his bedroom. They ignored him, and when he further pressed that point, one of the officers slammed his head onto a table and dragged him down the stairs. Regardless of which version is accurate, the decedent sustained a head laceration and a serious elbow fracture and dislocation. He spent 5 days in Cook County lockup, at which point he was bailed out. 4 years after this incident, he committed suicide. In this situation, the plaintiffs would, of course, assert that the decedent's version was accurate and that the police used more force than was appropriate under the circumstances. It's additionally relevant here that the decedent was a specially educated young man. He had mental health issues, and his treatment after the incident involved significant mental health treatment as well as physical medical treatment. In addition, there is video, not police video, but there's video and photographs of the apartment that show blood from his head wound on the stairs and on the floor. His medical expenses alone at this point total approximately $320,000. And in addition, if plaintiffs were to prevail in this case, they would seek and be entitled to an award of attorney's fees. Accordingly, in light of that, we have arrived at a proposed settlement of $400,000, and again, believe this represents a sensible and prudent fiscal outcome on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Jeff. Alderman Sposato.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Jeff. Chairman, I'm not sure if this question is for you or for Jeff or Caroline, but we had some extra people at the briefing. We have, don't take this personal, Jeff, but we just have Jeff and Caroline for the briefing. Nobody from CPD or anything?
It's just us today.
Okay. All right, so some guy commits suicide 4 years after an incident, and we're responsible for that?
No, the court has excluded evidence, has not permitted plaintiffs to introduce evidence of his suicide or an attempt to show that his suicide was caused, or rather was the result of his of the beating. However, we still are faced with number one, a wrongful force, an excessive force case, which is that they used excessive force on him and as a result caused him $320,000 worth of medicals alone, coupled with the fact that at trial, he would not be there, his mother would be there, and the fact that he was deceased would become known, and that would conceivably be something that the jury might consider in developing a sympathetic view towards the plaintiff.
So the police originally go there because they got a burglary in process, because that's what his roommate called for, correct?
Yes.
And then they come there and they argue and fight because, yes, you live here, no, you don't. So there's nobody from the police here to say what needs to be done by the police. So I can't even really answer a question. So I guess I just have some comments, because I actually did some research on some of these officers, and everybody knows the questions I always ask, because everybody wants to know how many CRs, what kind of guys they were. So all I did was dig up the complimentary history of some of these people, and I'm not sure which was there 5 officers?
Yes.
Okay, so I know I have the officer in the next one, the shooting, and then I got some histories here, but I'm not sure which one goes with which one. Other than I definitely know the one that involved the shooting and the next one. So just so everybody knows, I mean, one of the officers, complimentary history, 127. Another officer, 112. Another officer, 80. Another officer, 69. Another officer, 59. So, and we go on to a couple more, but I mean, I'm sorry. I don't understand it. Because I go there, his roommate calls, they're being combative with them about when they come, you have a search warrant, I'm not going to show you my ID, whatever it is. And he fought with the police, and now 4 years later, and I don't know anything about suicide, and I don't think many people do. Now he commits suicide 4 years later, and we're liable we're paying a settlement. I'm sorry. I don't really have any more questions, but Chairman, I just can't support this, but thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate you and everything. And don't take it personal, Jeff. I love you and everybody else loves you. So thank you.
I don't. And let me just say that I take your point, but I know that you understand that this settlement is not being brought before you as a judgment on the integrity or qualifications of the involved officers. It is being brought to you for consideration purely with the goal of prudent risk management of city funds.
Basically because of bad policing, though, which I question if it was bad policing or not. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Let me go to Alderman Thompson and then Alderman Lopez. Alderman Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I too am struggling with this. I understand, as fiduciaries, we're not trying the case here. We're trying to balance the risk versus, the cost to the city. But like my colleague, Alderman Sposato, I have reservations on this, and I would like to be marked as a no as well on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Chairman, and again, good afternoon, members of the committee. Forgive me, I was not able to attend the briefings, but was there body cam video or anything associated with what had transpired that day, other than whatever?
No,
pictures.
This predated that.
It predated that. And is the basis of their argument pretty much like the standard Monell case, that because we're guilty of the past, that we're probably guilty in this case too?
Well, There's, I don't recall if there's a Monell claim here or if it's simply against the individual officers. Caroline could help with that, but the core of this is really that the officers who responded used more force than was appropriate, which resulted in his head wound and his serious arm injury and his mental health deterioration.
Jeff, that's correct. There's no Monell claim on this case.
Okay. And the stories of the responding officers, were they all consistent with what was presented by you in the first place?
I don't believe there's any claim of inconsistency in stories. I think the plaintiffs would assert that the officer's account as a whole is incorrect, and that they, as I recounted earlier, that they simply barged in and ignored decedent's efforts to de-escalate the situation.
Understood. Thank you, Jeff. Chairman, when we get to it, I would like for a roll call vote on this item, please.
Okay. Let me go to Alderman Curtis first. Alderman Curtis, I saw you were unmuted. I'm sorry. Were you trying to ask a question or?
No,
I didn't know if you had.
No, I was actually gonna ask to be recorded no on this one. Thanks.
Okay, I'll do a roll call, but I'll make note of that. Alderwoman King.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just wanted to ask a couple more questions. What was the roommate's testimony?
The roommate, he at the top of the stairs, the decedent allowed the roommate to go past to his room. The roommate testified that he saw the decedent push the officer, but at that point he ducked into his room and didn't see anything else.
Okay. And the officer, what were his CRs? That particular one?
Sure. He had a sustained CR from an incident in 2005.
Was that a similar, what was?
It was not a use of force CR. It was it addressed allegations of neglect of duty.
Okay. And that was sustained. How many CRs did he have?
I don't have in front of me a record of unsustained CRs. I can tell you that it is not uncommon for CPD personnel to have unsustained CRs.
No, I know that. It just in context it helps with everything. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman.
Does Carolyn have that information?
I don't have a current list of their unsustained CRs.
Okay.
For the record, that was Carolyn Franzek from the Law Department.
Thank you, Chairman.
Sure. Jeff, question, this was from 2014 or 2016?
The incident took place in June of 2014.
Okay. So the question about cameras or audio, that was well before the city did the pilot program?
Yes.
Okay. And then what was the original settlement demand before the magistrate judge?
Sure. So just to
I think I got them mixed up.
Yeah, just through the numbers here, the initial demand for settlement was 1.7 million. We are now looking for authority for 400,000. His Medical damages total $320,000. We estimate that if the case, this is a rough estimate, we estimate that if this goes to trial, that that plaintiff's counsel fees would be in the range of $350,000. So in the event that that they were successful here, we would be looking at roughly in the neighborhood of $700,000, even before the amount of any award for pain and suffering and relating to the alleged excessive force.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Are there any other questions on this case on the Yower settlement? Alderman Lopez? Question?
Nope.
Okay, hold on a second.
Just ready to vote.
Pulling up the list here. Alderman, let me go to Alderman Raboris first.
Thank
Is that
you,
for this case?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're still talking about the case, the number B, right? B is in.
Yes. Yes, this is the $400,000.
Jeff, are these were several officers that were involved. Are they currently working?
Yes.
So they're working, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Jeff, this is Caroline Franzak. One of the officers
That's not
is
true.
retired
They're
now.
not all still
Oh,
working.
you're right. I apologize. One of them retired in 2019. Or no, it looks like two of them
Two
retired.
of them are retired.
Yeah, you're right.
Were these individuals reprimanded in any way, shape, or form, or?
No, this was this was because of the time this took place. This was before COPA, so this was an IPRA case, as is fairly common. The plaintiff's counsel did not, or plaintiff did not submit an affidavit, which is the document that triggers a city investigation. The reason for that is that when a plaintiff decides to proceed by way of a lawsuit, they will often choose not to proceed with a simultaneous city investigation. So because they chose to go that route, IPRA closed the matter for failure to get that necessary approval to move forward.
Jeff, on these matters regarding lawsuits with the city of Chicago, in these cases, police officers, is there a statute of limitations on any of this stuff?
I think there is. Caroline, do you recall the applicable?
Oh, this is Caroline Franzak from the Law Department. Yes, there's a statute of limitations. Generally, in federal cases, it's 2 years from the date of the incident, and generally in state law cases, it's 1 year from the date of the incident.
Oh, and in this case, doesn't it apply?
I believe they filed the lawsuit within the 2-year time period. However, just the litigation took that long to come to a conclusion. Also with delays related to COVID, I believe the case was going to be tried at some point, but due to those delays, there's extra time built in.
Got it. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderwoman King?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just a quick follow-up question. Did the officer sustain any injuries in this?
I have no record of officer injury.
And also there were how many officers involved?
Well, there were 5. I'm showing 5 officers who were at the apartment.
And were
And
they
the-
in the room where the alleged incidents took place?
Well, it was at the, it was at the top of the stairs. I don't know that they ever actually, the tussle was at the top of the stairs and involved the officer who brought him to the ground, and then 4 other officers who arrived at the landing and became involved in trying to subdue him. I'm sorry. You know what? Let me. No, never mind. That's it.
So would they testify that they saw this or no?
You mean, would the officers that were involved in subduing him testify as to that?
Yeah, I just want to know who was in the room when the alleged incidents occurred.
Yes, I think.
So they were present or no?
Any one of those 5 would testify as to the circumstances of the altercation.
Okay, so it's 5 officers, 1 descendant. What are you calling him? Decedent. Decedent. And how much did the decedent weigh?
I believe he was a small man. I don't have his height and weight, but I think he was significantly smaller than the responding officers.
Okay, thank you.
He was 22 at the time.
Okay, any other questions for Jeff before we go to a vote? All right, then I'm gonna do a roll call vote. So when it gets to your name, just be prepared to go off of mute.
And can you clarify, Chairman, the vote is to affirm the
A
judgment?
yes vote is to affirm the settlement of proposal of $400,000. And this is, pardon me, this is for the independent administrator of the estate of Yower, Sean Yower. I just lost my voice there, sorry. All right, let's move to roll call. I don't see any other hands up there. And again, this is item 1B on the supplemental agenda. Alderman Hopkins.
Aye.
Alderwoman Dowell. Alderwoman King.
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer.
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell. Alderwoman Harris. Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza.
Aye.
Alderman Thompson.
Nope.
Okay. Alderman Cardenas, Alderman Quinn. Alderman Burke.
No.
Alderman Lopez.
No.
Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Curtis is a no.
No.
Okay. Alderman O'Shea.
No.
Alderman Brookins. Alderwoman Tabaris.
No.
Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Aye.
Alderman Irvin. Alderman Taliaferro.
Aye.
Alderman Reboyras.
Aye.
Alderwoman Austin. Alderman Villegas. Alderwoman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Sposato.
Nick Sposato is a no.
Alderman Napolitano, I don't think was present. Alderman Riley.
No.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Tunney. Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Silverstein.
Yes.
Vice Chair Hairston.
Yes.
And Chairman Wagasback is a yes. The vote is 16 ayes and 8 nays. 16 ayes and 8 nays on the roll call vote. Is there anyone else who wish to be recorded on that before I move on to the next item? Okay. All right, Jeff, thank you for that. That roll call vote will be recorded out at the city council meeting. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll now move on to the last item on the supplemental agenda. This is Tambrasha Hudson versus City of Chicago and Officer Sean Heights. This is actually known as the Pierre Lowry case. So Jeff, I believe you can speak to this one as well, but this is the plaintiff Tambrasha Hudson on behalf of her deceased son, Pierre Lowry.
Thank you, Chairman. This case arises out of events of April 11th, 2016. On the evening in question, it was about 7:45 at night. The officers were in the 11th district on routine patrol in full uniform and in a marked SUV, which had an in-car camera. I will note at the outset that there was no body cams. At the time, it was still pre-full implementation. As they were on patrol, they got a radio call reporting a drive-by shooting in the vicinity with a black car that had been traveling northbound on St. Louis Avenue that was involved. They turned their SUV around and headed towards that location and pulled up at a stoplight where they saw a black car right at the light, and behind it was another vehicle, and the occupant told the officers through the open window that the black car in front of him had been involved in a shooting. At that point, the light changed. The black car turned left onto Roosevelt. The police SUV followed, activated their lights and siren, and pulled the black car over. I'm going to be speaking at this point from what the officer would assert, that as soon as the black car pulled over, the passenger door opened and Lowry jumped out and began running away. The officer observed, said that Lowry, when he exited the car, he had his hands down towards his waist area as if he was concealing something there. The officer chased Lowry approximately 175 feet through a vacant lot and down an alley where there was a wrought iron fence at the rear of a residence. The officer would assert that Lowry began to climb the fence, got stuck momentarily at the top because of his clothes got stuck, at which point a gun dropped out of his waistband onto the ground, that Lowry cleared himself of being stuck at the top and dropped onto the fence, or I'm sorry, dropped onto the ground on top of the gun. That the officer, who was at this point on the opposite side of the fence, yelled at him to show his hands. That Lowry turned over with the gun in his hands, pointed at the officer, and that at that point, the officer fired 2 shots, killing Lowry. A couple of notes that relate to this. At the time Lowry jumped out of the passenger side of the car, a magazine was located right in that area, and the gun that was recovered with Lowry had no magazine and had no bullet in the chamber. It was an empty pistol. There was testing conducted, and there were no fingerprints found on the gun or on the magazine. DNA evidence from the magazine was inconclusive. Lowry's body was tested for gunshot residue, and it was found positive. And additionally, there was an empty cartridge that was recovered from the scene of the earlier drive-by shooting, and that cartridge matched the empty handgun. In this instance, obviously, Lowry is regrettably deceased, and so there would simply be the officer's testimony. The defense of this case faces several significant hurdles. The first is that the judge in this case has made several preliminary rulings that would operate to exclude evidence that is helpful to the city. Namely, primarily any forensic evidence, video, or any detailed testimony about the drive-by shooting that would tend to associate Lowry with that incident. Additionally, the judge has excluded any evidence pertaining to Lowry's history and the fact that he was on probation, as well as Facebook photographs posted by Lowry. Plaintiffs, the fact that that no fingerprints were found on the gun, the fact that the magazine was empty is something that we expect plaintiffs would likely use to argue that he did not possess the gun, or that even if he did not point it. Additionally, plaintiffs, we expect, would seek to present evidence to assert that the bullet fired by the officer was on an upward trajectory, basically aimed towards the top of the fence, in support of seeking to show that Lowry was shot when he was at the top of the fence and was not presenting any threat to the officer. Finally, and this is somewhat technical, but nonetheless quite important, plaintiffs here are asserting wrongdoing on behalf of both the individual officer and the city, namely a so-called Monell claim, with which I think members of this committee are familiar, which asserts that the city has a pattern or practice of incompetence or malice in terms of training, deploying, investigating, and disciplining officers. Basically, that the city either encourages or condones poor behavior. In this situation, the judge did not grant the city the ability to try these two elements separately. And therefore, that means the plaintiffs would be putting on a case in which they would be simultaneously attacking the events at issue here, as well as the city's patterns and practices of oversight, which could have the potential to create a more, a less controlled environment with evidence coming in from a variety of places that could predispose a jury against the city. Additionally, we would be faced with a case where plaintiff's mother and other family members would likely testify and would present sympathetically. And as I think you are all aware, there are other cases or situations currently involving foot pursuits, one of which involves a minor, namely the Toledo and Alvarez cases. And we envision that plaintiffs might well seek to make reference to those as a way of trying to assert that there is some connection or continuing combination of wrongdoing here, which I would remind the committee that this case took place in 2016. So there is, we're talking a 5-year gap from those two other things, but I'm pointing them out to you simply as additional reasons in support of why a settlement here makes economic sense. In terms of the numbers, plaintiffs made an initial demand of $6,500,000, which was then reduced to $4,500,000. The proposed settlement here is $1,200,000. I will note that in this case, we believe that plaintiff's counsel would assert over at least $1 million in legal fees alone if they were to prevail at trial. And again, that is aside from any damages that a jury could award plaintiff's family. So let me conclude by saying that I will concede, and I think it's not controversial to say that this is a very unfortunate set of facts and situation. But I want to reemphasize that we are bringing this matter to you for consideration purely with the goal of ensuring prudent risk management of city funds. And therefore, in that light, $1,200,000 is a fiscally responsible result.
Thank you for that presentation, Jeff. Are there any questions for Jeff on item 1A on this supplemental? Alderman Sposato.
All right. I guess you're used to me raising my hand, so I was going to let some other people go first before I raise my hand, but I do have a couple. Thank you, Chairman.
Well, you were unmuted, so.
All right, I muted myself to get prepared. I'm always first, and everybody's like, this guy's always got to be first, but whatever. A couple questions, Jeff. So when the cops got flagged down by another car saying, hey, that car's shooting a gun, did those people disappear after that? Are they gone, or were they around to say, yes, that's what happened, or they just said, hey, flag them down, that's the end of it?
I believe they there was just that brief conversation and that was the end of it. Carolina can confirm if that's mistaken.
No, that's correct.
That's the impression I got from the briefing, so.
Yeah.
Okay, and I did learn something from the last briefing that I never knew before, that they said, and Caroline and you and Jeff could verify this, that I was somewhat surprised. They said it's hard to get prints off of a gun. That's what I heard, correct?
Correct.
And the shooter, the shooter who is a known gangbanger, that's a fact, just so everybody knows. Were other people in the car with him, or was he by himself? We never heard anything about anybody else. We just heard about Pierre, so.
Well, two things on that. Number one, you may well assert that he was a known gangbanger, but as I said, that would be excluded from the trial.
Right, I'm just going by what the superintendent said about him.
No, I know, and I'm saying that that's one of the reasons why we are seeking to settle, because that is something that we would not be able to bring up. And as far as your second question, he was the passenger when the driver of the police SUV ran to assist. The driver of the black car simply took off and has not been seen since.
Okay, whatever found. What was he? And I forgot how old was he? He was 18, Jeff?
16.
Oh, he was 16. Okay, I thought he was 18. Okay. All right. All right. All right. I'm okay. I mean, I was at the briefing, so I know what happened and everything. So I'm not going to just keep asking questions that I know the answer.
You're fine. If you have a question, go ahead and ask it.
No, I don't have a question. I just have a statement. I mean, we know what it is, but I mean, many of my colleagues ask about CRs all the time, and my thing. I'm known as the guy that wants to know the complimentary history. So just want to make sure everybody knows that this is not a bad kid. This is not a rogue cop that shot him. He's a young man, a young kid. I mean, certainly younger than my kid, so I call him young. But this is an individual that at this point in his career has 88 a complimentary history of 88 different things: the Superintendent's Award of Valor, special accommodations a couple times, life-saving awards, crime reduction awards, complimentary letters, honorable mentions. And nobody's around from the police that say, hey, is that I would guess that's a substantial amount. I don't know if Alderman Telefiero's still on, but if 88 complimentary achievements in 7 years, which is really 6 years, because your first year you're in training, if that's a substantial amount. But I'm just guessing he's what the police call a producer, a guy that works, a guy that's not afraid to work, was in the 11th district. And I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know why we're mentioning his name, to create problems for him. But just want to make sure everybody knows that this was a good kid that was involved with this, and a good police officer. But that's it. Thank you, Chairman.
And Chairman Spizzato, I would appreciate that and would echo that I think it's fair to say that voting in support of this settlement is not a vote indicting the officer at issue here. It is a vote for saving the city money.
Right. And I know that, and just sometimes you have to understand that for people like me, and sometimes I just feel, and I don't understand law like you do, that just sometimes we have to dig in and say, this is ridiculous. And judges like this judge need to be thrown out for not allowing certain stuff. The more of the facts, and it's tragic anytime anybody gets killed, let alone a kid. But he unfortunately he chose a life of crime, and somebody fingered the car that said these guys are shooting their gun. And it's real easy, I would guess, for somebody in the heat of the moment to be shooting and not realize that their gun is empty and then point it at somebody. So it doesn't make a difference if it's an empty gun, if it's a squirt gun. If everybody took the don't shoot class, they might understand this a little bit more. Or if they do ride-alongs in some of the more crime-ridden areas, then they might understand this stuff a little more. But that's just me. I'm not trying to sway anybody, but this is just not something I could support. But I appreciate you, Jeff. I appreciate you, Caroline, and I appreciate you, Chairman. So That's it for now, I guess. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. Jeff, it's a federal judge, right?
Yes.
Okay. They do have lifetime appointments, right? So.
Yes, and I don't think I'm saying, I don't think there's anything that I'm saying or that anyone on the committee is saying that would, it's to be appropriate to criticizing the judge. My point about the rulings is not to stir people up or be critical, but simply to say, these are the cards we're dealt in going to trial, and we don't have, we are limited here. We are limited, and that is why it is a sound strategic decision to try to effectively manage the risk here. Thank you.
Okay. Let me go to Alderman Thompson first. He has a question, I think.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to fix my that is since died, and I'm on my phone now, onto my last electronics. I appreciate you, Jeff. Again, I appreciate everything. We had the briefing. So IPRA did a investigation of this, correct?
Let's see. This, I think this was an IPRA. Yes, it was an IPRA. There was an investigation. Yes.
And was that concluded? Was there a determination if this was justified?
There was such a determination, and bear in mind that IPRA was IPRA, because of the difference in evidentiary standards, IPRA was able to consider things that that a jury in this case would not.
And I get that, and I understand. And we can always, if we're not satisfied with an outcome, we can also appeal a circuit or a lower level court's decision and appeal that decision. Whether that be on a procedural ruling, a basis, as long as you have a basis, you can appeal it, correct?
Yes, and an appeal is limited to the misapplication of the law as opposed to relitigation of the facts. So it's not an appeal is not like getting a second try on a clean slate.
But you cannot. So what you're saying is you cannot appeal the judge's decision or ruling on evidentiary admission or of evidence?
I think you can, but I think we have concluded here that none of the judge's rulings get into the neighborhood of being so out of line as to warrant a colorable appeal.
Okay. And I think it, just as you've indicated that the settlements are based on more of a financial, it's not that.
Can you, your question?
For the folks involved, whether it be the police officer, whoever. So just because if we don't agree to settle, I think there's different ways in which we can hopefully help the financial status of the city by deterring people. I think it could sort of cut both ways.
Alderman, you're breaking up, but Jeff, I don't know if you got some of that.
Thanks, Chairman, and thanks, Jeff. It's
okay.
Critical of you. We don't agree. Yeah.
You might have to use some city funds to get him better Wi-Fi.
I'm all good. I'm all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kidding there. Alderman Lopez, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, thank you, members of the committee. Jeff, I understand your comment about we're doing this not because of the facts, but because it's fiscally prudent. That the cards we're dealt aren't great. But I feel like we're not playing with a full deck anyway. Every time these settlements come to us, you know, you reference Toledo and Alvarez, and lawsuits like this, I think, have a damaging effect on our city's finances, more so than this singular lawsuit, because that emboldens people, criminals, and individuals to know that if they are harmed or something happens to their family members who are gang members or committed to criminality, they're going to get paid. And this, again, is something that we've seen time and again, something that, you know, I and others have railed against time and again, and it just continues. And I think at some point, you know, I just have to ask, when do we start pushing back? I think that was what Alderman Thompson was trying to allude to, is, you know, when do we start pushing back against these rulings that are harmful to our city, that don't allow us to give the full spread of facts so that we can paint the entire picture of what exactly is going on these streets, that it's not just some random or ill-conceived shooting by an officer, but there was a chain of events that led to the scenario. When does the department actually start pushing back on whether it's the federal or local judges here?
Well, Alderman, I would say that I think, you know, when I present, or when the law department presents these settlements, it is, I mean, it does have a discouraging quality to it, but that doesn't represent the entire picture. I mean, the law department is litigating a lot of cases, and we are winning cases. So I would not agree with your assertion that that the public at large and that the plaintiffs bar is viewing what we do here today as an encouragement to bring more lawsuits against the city. I think that's in candor, there are attorneys who this is what they do for a living, and they will keep doing it. But I think the city does take these cases, does work them vigorously, and we do have a good record. We win cases. It's just the settlements fall into a category where we are bringing these to you to authorize an outlay of funds for settlement.
And Alderman Lopez, this is Caroline Franzak from the Law Department. I do want you to be aware that when we do get rulings like this that are against us, we do everything we can to represent them to the judge, to have them reconsidered before trial, so that we can make sure that the judge is well aware of our position. And we did so in this case, and still came up short on some of the rulings that we thought were legally sound and would provide a rationale for admitting some of this evidence. But the judge disagreed with us, and we respect those rulings. However, we don't think that in this case, the jury would get the full picture of what we're trying to present to you today.
And I appreciate both of you saying that. And I'm not saying that you don't win cases. I'm just saying that, as we saw with settlements just before this, as we've seen with numerous settlements, even thinking back to like the Godinez case, which, you know, I held up for months because I wasn't happy with the fact that we were rewarding criminality then. It's just infuriating to keep having to have these same discussions on these same rulings, on the same judicial mindset that works against the taxpayers of Chicago. So I know the wall you are up against. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it. But I think at some point, whether it's right to criticize the judicial system or not, let them read the paper and find out that we're not happy with them tying our hands like this. Maybe they'll start paying better attention. I don't know. What I do know is that, rightly or wrongly, a message is felt in the neighborhood. and those individuals that, you know, empowering the bad guys to sue us so that they could catch their case and get their payout, it's wrong. And I just have to keep pushing back and fighting against it. And Chairman, on the flip side, I'd say I'd love to have a hearing maybe, or a discussion with law to see the cases and maybe highlight where they have pushed back and won. Because I think the narrative is that we're always settling. And if we show more often than not, we're beating them back, then that might help do more to protect taxpayers than these settlements do on a monthly basis. So, and when it's appropriate, Chairman, a roll.
Alderman Curtis.
Thank you.
Great. I heard Alderman Lopez was fading out there too. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Thanks. So it's basically the same as Alderman Sposato, but I'm also in a position where I don't want to spend more money than we should spend out. You know, why take this back to court and gamble with taxpayers' dollars? I do have a question, Jeff. Are there any cases, and I can't remember at all, where let's say we'll pay out $500,000, the settlements for $500,000, and we send that back to the court. We don't vote it out of committee, and we send it back to court. And the court says, now you're going to pay $1 million. Have you ever brought that back to the council to say we should have settled, this is now the new settlement, or the new amount that we have to pay out?
I hear your question. I understand. I think that it's that the way the settlement process traditionally has functioned and continues to function is really the negotiation is between the city attorneys and the plaintiff's attorneys, and it becomes a matter of getting to a place where they agree, at which point the judge gives conditional approval. And then at that point, it comes before the city council. I think, I don't know how, I think if the city council were to get itself involved into what you're describing as really the settlement negotiation process, I think that would be kind of an outlier situation.
Right. Well, what I'm asking is, once we don't vote it out of city council, I would say, not just out of committee, and we go back and now we have to pay out $1 million. Do you bring that back in front of the body to say, this is why we wanted to settle, now we have to pay this $1 million out, when at first it could have been 500,000?
I understand. I don't think that has happened because I think, in my recollection, I think the city council has virtually always, and I appreciate this as an exercise of sound judgment. I think the city council has ultimately been receptive to our proposals as to the settlement amounts and as to the reasons behind why settlement is a good idea.
Right. My last question for you and Caroline. I do remember that some of our litigation used to go to an outside source. Is that still happening, or are we doing it solely from the city?
We do both. it really depends on the individual case and the subject matter of the case and the workload anticipated for the case. In this case, it was a city attorney handled case.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Welcome. Alderman Raboris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff, I concur with what you're saying, but I do want to point out two things. A, this doesn't, for us voting yes on this procedure, doesn't take away from the great work that this police officer has done. And I to Alderman Spozzado's case, I agree with him there, and I don't think that we should pay the price for doing this. However, these two things that I want to talk about is that, Jeff, I think you made a statement that says the judge excluded any evidence that would associate anything that Lowry has done in the past. Notice this, he excluded this. And then he goes back to saying that the judge proved that the city has a problem with this behavior going back. So in other words, we can't use the way we operate. We cannot use that to prove our case, or just to make the difference. And then, but the judge can use the case where any of Mr. Lowry's past history could not be used in this case specifically. Am I saying this correctly?
I think you're almost correct. I think there's a little bit of apples and oranges here. I think the judge, it's a woman, has said that the city in this case, there are elements of of Lowry's history that we cannot present because they would not be their prejudicial effect outweighs their probative effect. However, separately, pursuant to what's called the Monell Doctrine, a plaintiff can bring in evidence of the city's historical and current practice and attempt to show that it either negligently allowed or approved of improper police behavior. So that may seem to you like an unfair non-equality, but it simply is the way the law is before us on this situation.
We need to change that, but nevertheless, the fact that we need to manage the risk of what we may be paying, and as this item, if it goes back to jury, and based on, I was a no, an effective no on this matter, but I'm going to change my vote to a yes, because I think it's in order to save some of the city's funding and monies that we need to settle this case. And it's not to say that he or she is a bad officer in this case. Nothing to do with it, just how it happened. And I just wanted to make that known, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks. Before I go to roll call vote, are there any other questions for Mr. Levine? Okay, seeing that we have no other questions, I'm going to do a roll call vote. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is on item 1A, says Hudson versus City of Chicago. And this is the Lowry case. So start out with Alderman Hopkins. Are you ready?
Yes, I vote aye.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Dowell. Alderwoman King,
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer, Alderman Mitchell.
Aye.
You, Alderwoman Harris. Alderman Beal. Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza.
Aye.
Alderman Thompson.
There we go.
I didn't catch that, Alderman Thompson. I'm sorry.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm a no.
Okay. Alderman Cardenas, Alderman Quinn,
No.
Alderman Burke. Hold on a second. Alderman Burke. Okay, sorry. Alderman Lopez.
No.
Okay. Alderman Moore.
Aye.
Alderman Curtis.
No.
Alderman O'Shea.
No.
Alderman Brookins. Alderwoman Tabaris.
No.
Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett. Alderman Irvin.
Alderman Irvin votes aye.
Thank you. Alderman Taliaferro.
Aye.
Alderman Raboris.
Aye.
Alderwoman Austin. Alderman Villegas. Alderwoman Mitz. Alderman Sposato.
Nick Spasato's no.
Yep. Alderman Napolitano. Alderman Riley. Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney. Alderman Osterman. Alderwoman Silverstein.
No.
Vice Chair Hairston.
Aye.
And Chairman Wagasback is an aye. I have 12 ayes and 8 nays. Is there anyone else who wish to be recorded before we adjourn?
Alderman Dowell, are you muted?
Alderwoman Dowell. Muted there.
She's muted. She
We
can't.
can't hear her. Yeah, something's going on with her audio, but
Okay,
She's flagging an eye.
She's voting yes. She's giving you thumbs up.
Okay.
we'll double check
Thank you.
that one with the law department.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it there.
If she can
Tech
mouth
issues.
the word yes, that would help too.
You probably just want to record it for the record, Chairman, and state it out loud that she's showing her hands up, just for the record.
Yep. Okay, we have a 13 to 8 then. All right. All right, thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Caroline, for providing that testimony today. Again, the vote on 1A, the Hudson Lowry versus City of Chicago was 13 to 8. And that's in the amount of $1.2 million. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here in this meeting. This concludes the agenda of the Committee on Finance. May I have a motion to adjourn by affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum?
So call. So moved on.
Motion to adjourn, Alderman
Alderman
Sposato.
Scott moves. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and our meeting is adjourned.